Math ni rahisi, si ndio? Okay, one last time. 3, 2, 1. That looked... Okay, thank you. So something different. When I say 1, you do this. Your left hand. When I say 1, your left hand does this. When I say 2, you put your right hand on top of your neighbor's left hand. You have your left hand up. 2, you put your right hand on top of your neighbor's left hand. Msonge hivi mkwe na neighbors. And then when I say 3, you grab your neighbor's left hand and ensure your neighbor does not grab your left hand. So, see, this is your one. So you grab this, you grab his, and ensure that yours is not grabbed. So if you grab somebody's, if you grab your neighbor's hand, your neighbor will say hi to us and tell us a joke. Okay, let's try. So when I say 1, you put it up, your left hand. When I say 2, your right hand on top of your neighbor's left. When I say 3, you grab. That is good. You grab. Ensure that your neighbor doesn't catch your hand. If your neighbor catches your hand, you say hi, you tell us a joke. Okay? We are starting. 1, 2, 3. We have a joke. We have 2 jokes. Who else? We have 3 jokes. Do you want to go first or do we continue? Okay. Acha tuseme hiyo ilikuwa trial. Now we go again. 1, 2, 3. Hii ni kama ni yao, ilikuwa ni yao too, because I'm seeing the same people ndo wameshikwa. Just tell us something. It doesn't have to be a joke. You just tell us something.
Hi, my name is Lorna Odongo. I'm a sickle cell warrior. I'm happy to be here. I'm so happy that you've come to celebrate this day with us. I don't have a joke really, I'm not a joker, but I want to appreciate you all for being here, being with us, and supporting us in whichever way. Thank you so much and feel most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Your turn. Just say anything. Nani mwingine alishikwa? Okay, let's find new culprits. 1, 2. Mko na PTSD? 2. Okay, 3. Let's try again. No, walishikwa wako na PTSD, wako chonjo. Okay, let's try again. 1, 2, 3. We have innocent. Okay, Innocent will tell us something that makes him happy today.
I'm happy to have a fellow cyclist in the room. Hi. So I'm an avid cyclist, and yeah, it's nice to see someone else who's using it as a commuter. So it makes me happy. Thanks.
Cyclists in the room. I am a recent cyclist, so we can sit down. We are getting now ready to start our first panel, getting into what brought us here today. But acha niwapigie story kidogo. So, as I was saying, I'm a cyclist. I have been cycling for approximately 3 months. I've been cycling for 2 to 3 months, and it has been one of the most interesting, one of the most challenging journeys, and I would highly recommend, niliangukanga, walisema kuanguka ndio kulearn, and I can attest it is true to some extent. Anyway, so I want us to get to meet our first panel. And just before I introduce our first panel, I want us to give a round of applause to Tracy. So for those of us who know Tracy, we know that she's the host for Crimson Courage. She looks really nice. Angesema tuvae pink. She should have said. So we have Tracy. And we want to hear from at least 2 warriors today, get to understand the warrior's voice, and get to, how do I say this? Most of the time, the struggles of a warrior are unseen to a lot of people, just to them and to their caregivers. So today we want that voice to go beyond the warrior and the caregiver. We want to spotlight their stories, to listen to their experiences and their personal journeys, celebrate their resilience and strength today. Okay? So Tracy will just say hi, and then we'll have our guests come on stage. Another round of applause. Nitawakumbusha hadi mzoe kukla.
Okay, hi, I'm Tracy, and the first thing I want us to do, because the live stream has just started, I have all your contacts, so I want to share the link, and then everyone can also share the link to maybe someone who's not come, friends, any group, okay? Can we do that challenge? Okay. Let me send it to you just right now. Okay. I've been told to move in the middle. Is this better? Okay. Has anyone seen on their WhatsApp like a notification of the link? Saying join us and advocate with us. Anyone? You've seen? Who said yes? You've seen? Okay, so my system is working. Good to know. Let me do another one. Yeah, just take the time to share as we are about to start. So today is just our day to share with each other, to be real with each other. We know what we go through. Definitely it's not easy, but given that we are here, it means that we are warriors and we are resilient, and that's our identity. Not just anything can put us down. Am I right? My audience, you guys have to be louder. Am I right?
Yes.
Is this true? Because I'm sure each one of you is here because, number one, you know about sickle cell. Definitely you know what warriors go through. Or maybe you're a caregiver, or maybe you are a parent, or a healthcare professional. So as I say your type of distinction, I want to hear some feedback, right? Are you a doctor or a healthcare practitioner? Who said yes? Yeah, say yes. This is our day, say yes. Who is a healthcare practitioner here? Welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Without you, we would not be here. Although I know sometimes you feel like it's difficult, even us, we fear sometimes coming to your office, because of that experience. And who here is a parent to a sickle cell warrior? I want to hear you loud. Who is a parent? Say yes. Celebrate yourself. Say yes. This is how far I've come. Who here is a parent? Welcome. Thank you so much. We would not be here without you. And then, who here is a warrior? I want to hear that courageous shout. No, I can't accept that. Who here is a warrior? I can't hear you. Who here is a warrior? The last time. Okay, welcome. We'll get louder as we go on. So, the first segment that we are having is one whereby it's a heart-to-heart conversation. Have you ever heard of a heart-to-heart? A heart-to-heart is whereby we are truthful, we are not hiding, we say it as it is, and we understand and empathize with each other, not sympathize. We don't do sympathy here. We empathize and we give each other, that solution or that idea, because sometimes you don't know, you just never had someone to speak to that can give you that, other opinion, because that's life. Life is looking on the other side and seeing that there's an option, not just what you're stuck with in front of you. So are you excited for that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I would love to have this conversation with 2 warriors, 1 male and 1 female. Dino, Mukuri, where are you? Hey, our celeb. Welcome, welcome. You can sit here. A girl Toto, our baby girl. Where are you? Are you far away? Welcome, welcome.
Check 2.
Hey, looking nice in our colors.
Hello.
Black, white, red.
1,
Black, white, red.
Check.
Nice, nice. Nice. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
So definitely both of you are warriors. And I want to commend you for the far that you have come. I want to celebrate you. If someone has not celebrated you yet, I want to celebrate you. I want to say that welcome to this community. We are courageous. And this community is for all of us, by us and for us. So feel free, feel comfortable. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. Yeah, you don't, just be yourself. Present yourself in the way that you like. Speak in the language that you like. Yes, express yourself. Sawa, feel comfortable. So, the first question I wanted to ask, I'm also a warrior, but I wanted to know, beyond the medical definitions of how you describe the unique strength or superpower that living with sickle cell is, what would you say what is that X factor that having sickle cell has brought out in you? Maybe you can start with Dino.
All right. The X factor I would say sickle cell has brought out in me is very simple. I truly believe and this is just a personal opinion, but in the world we live in today, the best people go through a crazy amount of pain. And I'd say, to me, that was God saying, Dino, I don't want you to go through other pain. I want you to go through this type of pain. And to me, I look at it and I'm like, Sicklers fight, and we fight for our lives. And it's something we do a lot. Not only does it make you more health conscious, it also teaches you to be more preserved, learn more about yourself, and more knowledge. It gives you more knowledge on your body, yourself, and what other people can do long term. So for me, to answer that question, I'd say it's a very painful fight, but I think God gives us enough pain to continue. I hope I've answered that question properly. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. And just to give, our audience a bit of context, maybe you can just tell them a bit of who you are and what you do. Just shortly. I know you do a lot. Yes.
All right. My name is Dino Mukuri. I'm a content creator to some extent. I started very recently, so it's not one of the things I consider in my career yet, but it's something I do almost daily. And I'm a video editor, business owner, and a freelancer here in Kenya. I didn't go to university, or I'm not going to university because my eyesight is not the best thanks to my condition, and I understand that. But in general, I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior. I live with what I have and what I've been going through. So to fully say who I am, I'm a jack of all trades. And they say a jack of all trades is a jack of none. But there's a second part of that saying that I can't remember. But in the meantime, I do a lot. And I'm proud to be here and sitting here in front of all of you. I appreciate it.
That's strength. That's courage, That's strength beyond what people expect from you. Thank you for joining us. I'm so happy that you're here today. So let's go to Janice, our Crimson Courage Queen. Can you tell me, being a sickle cell warrior, what kind of unique thing or unique character or unique skill, or where do you feel it's brought you that, not having sickle cell would not have, taken you up to there?
Okay, thank you, Tracy. That's a really good question, because I really believe that God doesn't put you where you're needed to be or for a reason. So he had a reason for that. And me having sickle cell, in a way, has helped me navigate life a lot of times, because you find you'll face some challenges in life, but remembering where you've come from, or maybe the difficulties that you have to tackle because of your health condition, it builds you and it makes you become resilient. You can look at your peers sometimes and you're facing challenges and they're like, I want to give up. But for you, you can call yourself to a meeting and you tell yourself, I don't have that luxury of giving up. I really need to still go forward. I need to fight. I've come this far for a reason, so nothing should break me at this point. So it has really taught me resilience and how to overcome a lot of obstacles.
Okay. So also, I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, so that now other warriors can see also a bit into your strength and personal resilience.
I don't know where I should start from.
Just start from today.
Okay, so I'm Janice Aoko, a warrior all my life. What I'm doing currently, I'm actually entry-level auditing. I'm doing auditing. I studied finance. And then part-time content creation and creating awareness about sickle cell.
Professionalism beyond the health challenge. We can do anything. We are warriors. So I wanted to also ask you another question. What would you tell someone who is struggling with their diagnosis of being a warrior. You know, in our lives, we always go through those lows, and our lows can get very, very low. So what would you tell someone who's currently struggling with that aspect of what's the point?
That's true. As sicklers, we do go through a lot, especially in terms of pain. And I'll give you a personal story. I remember at the age of 12, 13, this was actually my lowest, a time where I have a lot of siblings and I'm the only sickler. So it was a time where I felt like I was generally a burden to my parents because I was the one who had the highest school fees, had the most medical bills, and it was crazy. But then you come to realize that you didn't choose it. God gave it to you for a reason, and that's something I'll say every single day. To people who are struggling with the diagnosis of sickle cell, I'd say be more open about it, and the reason I'd say that is because you are unique in your own way. The pain you go through is limitless, and I'm here to tell you I understand it. I've been there, I'm always there. And us sicklers always have it at the back of our mind, when am I going to get sick next? It's always there, but as long as you truly are able to just know that this is who you are, you can build anything. As Tracy said, everything is possible. You just have to set your mind to it, and you'll be all right.
Wow, that's true. So there's something that Dino has said, Janice, about, you know, sometimes you can feel like you are a burden to the people who are supporting you, like your parents, your family, your friends. Have you ever felt like that? And how do you overcome that feeling?
Okay, for me, yeah, I have felt like I'm a burden, but in childhood, not so much. I wasn't realizing that because also my parents were really, really supportive. But there came a time when I actually felt that, I think, at my age, I think, when you have to ask your parents every time to provide medication for you, or maybe you have to go to hospital and your parent is at that stage where am I going to get that money? I'm paying this for you, I'm paying this, they're paying this. Now you have to see them, you now actually see them struggle to get that money for medication and such like things. So it reached a time where I even stopped telling my parents to refill for me my medication. I just nearly cut evil until I think one of my parents was like, unamezanga dawa kweli? Because me, I was seeing, I remember that time I'm a sickler, and also my mom was sick at that time, and her medical bills were really, really high. So it really took a lot from our family at that time. So I was feeling awkward coming out and saying I'm also sick, or I need this. So until now, I caved a bit at that time. So overcoming that, you just have to remember that you have a support system. Even if you feel like the people around you, maybe you are burdening them, you should open up, or maybe go and sit down with them and just share with them that this is what has happened, this is how I feel. You might even get a chance for them to open up and tell you that maybe when it's like this, we can do this and this, instead of keeping it to yourself. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for sharing. So what I've gotten from what you've said is, number one, sickle cell is nobody's choice at all. If you had a choice, I don't think anyone would choose it. So it comes with a lot of, mental kind of strains, even growing up. That kind of thing whereby you look at yourself as a problem, but you're not really a problem. You are human. So, Dino, just to counter on that, maybe can you tell us something you would wish our parents knew that they probably don't know?
All right, to add on that, actually, I'd just love to add, not even to count it, but genuinely to add on that, having a family and a strong support system is one thing that has carried me to where I am today. Because if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I would be, but I genuinely appreciate my family, from my brothers to my sister to my parents, even my aunts and uncles. Everyone is a support system. And you come to realize that, and it's one of the best things that you can have as a Sickle. Let me tell you, there's times I'm crying in crisis and then I'm smiling. My brother looks at me and he's like, "You're a psychopath. What's up with you? Like, why are you smiling?" But in my head, I simply want him to understand, as long as you guys are here for me, you guys are family. It doesn't matter what amount of pain I'm in. In my head, it all comes back down to your mental will. As long as you know there's people there for you and you can continue to live for them and live for yourself, then you'll be very happy. And I'd say, I wouldn't even challenge it, but family is very important. And I've also noticed that with my content, I have a lot of uncles, aunts who come to tell me, "Oh, my niece has sickle cell, my nephew has sickle cell. What should I do?" So it's not just a matter of your parents. It's not only your parents' burden, or not even a burden, wrong word. It's not only your parents' challenge, but it's your family's challenge. And if the support system is there, then you grow up very well. That's something I've learned over time. And shout out to my aunts, cousins, everyone in general. Yeah.
Okay. Just coming back to the question I asked, is there something you wish parents knew about, there are some things that they really assume, and it's because of, going through the same cycles over and over again.
Yes.
So is there something you really wished to tell a parent who's
Yes.
taking care of a warrior?
To parents, you can treat your child like an egg, and it's a good thing, but at the same time, you have to let people grow. And I'm a great example of that. My mother is, wow, ananiona kama yai. Like, it's crazy, but I love her for that. And it's always, you have the importance, protection, make sure you're warm, take your medicine. Hey, it doesn't matter whether I've taken my medicine or not. Every night, my meds are down. I'm like, hey, relax, I've taken. But anyway, another thing is, especially as a guy, I can tell you, as long as you are mentally all right, there's a lot you can do, and I'm a great example of that. I do 100 push-ups per day. I do almost a 2-kilometer run, and people have always told me, "Oh, Dino, but you have sickle cell. That will make you not feel all right, or you'll be sick." But you come to learn, as long as you're able to manage yourself, you become more health conscious. Like, for example, today, I'm on a 48-hour fast. Oh, Dino, why are you fasting? You have sickle cell. You do your research, you become smarter over time, and you learn the importance of what you do. And I'd say most parents don't like that because they're like, no, I know how to take care of you. You don't know how to take care of yourself. But I'd say let your children continue to learn. And as they find what's right for themselves, they will 100% just keep the balance going. I'm not saying that konjeka, but you learn time by time by time. And also don't be harsh on them at you've fallen sick. No, sometimes it can be controlled, sometimes it cannot.
That's true. So the message is we are capable. We are able to handle
everything
it.
is possible. Everything.
Okay. All right. There's also something that you've said that I think a lot of warriors go through when it comes to dealing with their parents or caregivers. Janice, I don't know if you've ever gone through this, whereby unapigiwa kelele. Unapigiwa kelele when you're sick, because they're assuming you didn't do this, you are staying out in the cold, you didn't drink enough water, and sometimes it's not you. Have you ever gone through that, and how do you deal with it?
For sure, I've gone through that. Mostly in primary school, I used to have this fight with my mom because I used to get a lot of tonsils, nakuwa na baridi, naanza kuwa mgonjwa, because in school, I could eat a lot of things. I could buy. I used to like ice pops a lot. So hiyo time ilikuanga ice one bob. Hey, mimi, I wasn't nipita that time. Na sao last week I was sick. This week my friend is saying, "Twende to buy." So may I take her? She buys a lot of them. So, and then she gives me some. Or sometimes tunaenda tunabuy vitu. I start eating. Nikikuwa msick, sasa niko peke yangu hapo. nashautiwa na my mom, mbona ulikuwa unakula hizi? Najua ulikula, even if you deny, she already knows you ate those things and now you are sick.
Tukiwa hosi, rafiki yako atakuwa hapo ni tu wewe, so it's crazy.
Tulikuambia, Caregivers, parents, are you listening? Can you hear? Can you familiarize? Also, to amplify on what he was saying, you're being treated like an egg, and then sometimes, so parents maybe can sometimes let you like live your life so that you can also learn yourself and learn your body. You know where your limits are. Even you, it's a chance for you to learn. So not every time maybe you are telling your kid that you can't do this. Maybe for once try, there is something when I do this, this happens, and or maybe when I do it like this, it becomes better. So yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for all the insights you've given us. So I want us to wrap up with a message of courage, a message to warriors or even caregivers, for someone who's just going through it. Janice or Dina, any message of courage?
I'll say everything is possible. That's when I tell all parents, all sicklers, your mind is the limit on everything. Doesn't matter the goal you set, everything is possible. And that's something I really push out, not even on sicklers alone, but everyone. Become more health conscious. And sometimes your child with sickle cell is most likely going to be the one who makes you more health conscious. I used to think my parents were the healthiest people growing up, but looking at it now, I'm like, hey, nah, you guys ain't healthy. No, not at all, but munajaribu because I'm there to give instruction over time, even though they may not like it, but we help each other, family-wise, everyone. Don't neglect advice from your child or from anyone in general. But at the end of the day, I will say this. For all sicklers, everything is possible. Health-wise, nutrition-wise, take care of yourselves. It's not that you should go around eating sweets, no, there's levels to it. There's levels to understanding how much you can eat, understanding your body, and knowing what's best for you. That's what I'll say. But that for me, I just wish all of you the best. As someone who has lost some of my best friends to sickle cell, I live for them and I live for all of you just to prove a point that I can do anything. That's my mentality. So keep living. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Janice?
So just to add on what he has said, yeah, anything is possible, and you can live one day at a time. There's no reason to always live in worry that I'm going to get my next crisis or my child is going to get sick. Just live one day at a time. Look for things to anchor you in your life. If you're spiritual, you can lean on to God and things like that, and encourage your child to live as a caregiver. Just live your life. Don't always be living in worry. And also remember your mental health, and your mind is your strength. The way you set it, it's the way it's going to be. If you say that if I do this, I'm going to get a crisis, for sure it's going to happen. If you say, if my child akifanyanga hivi na ikuanga hivi, for sure that is what is going to happen. So have a positive mindset and live one day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, sharing with the community. And I think even for what they're saying online, for the support that you're showing us. So let me hand over to Feli.
A round of applause. Tukue na nguvu. Is this the energy we are supporting our warriors with? A round of applause. Thank you. That's way better. So we've had their experiences, we've had their stories, we've had their perspectives, and they're very, very powerful perspectives. This shows the need for better support systems that we co-create with the warriors, the support systems that we don't implicate, we create together. So what are you carrying home today from this conversation? What are you taking home with you from this conversation? Safe spaces are co-created together. You are a parent, you are a caregiver, and most of the time, as a parent, I know how protective we can get, and always wanting to do something that is in the best interest of your child, but ensure that you create the safe space with them, not for them, okay? So, yes, moving on to something a little bit lighter. Who's ready for some entertainment? Spoken word. I'm an upcoming stand-up comedian, by the way, so mcheke. Anyway, so we have one of our warriors here today who is about to entertain us. Amazing voice, amazing words, amazing inspiration. So, hata sijui nimuintroduce aje, but let's give him a round of applause as Biggie comes on stage.
Good afternoon. Yeah, as you have heard, my name is Biggie. I am a sickle cell warrior. I am 33 years old. And I usually do write poems for awareness. And I hope you can learn something from this poem. It basically speaks about what we warriors go through whenever we're having a sickle cell crisis. If I told you how I feel, you wouldn't believe me. You'd simply nod your head and say, yes, I understand. But you don't know the type of pain that runs through me. It's that sickle cell crisis. Check your anatomy. We start fine the first minute, but we are crippled the next minute. Rushing to hospital to see what meds to get injected. Needle after needle, but they can't find a vein. So they keep digging in, just worsening the pain. Nurse after nurse, I feel like a test dummy, because after they try and fail, there's nothing left of me. Finally, they find a vein, and now I'm on the IV. But all these medications are knocking me out, causing hallucinations, from the morphine and the pethidine, to the tramadol and the fentanyl. Yes, I know them all, because this might happen once a year or 5 or 6 times a year. But that's a healthy sickle cell warrior. So just imagine one that's worse off. The doctor says I need to get admitted. It finally hits me that I'll be confined to this bed. We fear blood tests, so we punch and kick. The lab guys don't understand. They say, we can't control this kid. But why did you have to come and draw blood this early? Because I know when you walked in, you could have heard me snoring. I stare at this pump, which I see every day, shooting liquids into me, trying to fade the pain away. The lab results are in. My hemoglobin is out of place and in the low. The doctor says I need a transfusion. But he adds on, we don't have blood. Phone calls are made to friends and families to come and donate blood. Finally, the transfusion starts. But the parents are now panicking. Did they clean it good? Hours pass, the transfusion is over. Days later, I feel better. Blessings have fallen from the sky. But now I have to be discharged. And then it hits me. I might be well right now, but just like that, it can start all over again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Biggie. So, in all honesty, I never paid close attention to sickle cell disease. And I was raised up in Migori, and I have an auntie who have a daughter who has sickle cell. So I used to hear the daughter is sick, amepelekwa hosi, and then they said akona sickle cell. I never understood the correlation of sickle cell and my auntie always being in distress. And until last year, I witnessed one of my friend's crisis. But still, it didn't really hit me that much. Interacting with Crimson Courage opened my eyes to so many things in relation to sickle cell disease. And over that time, I've interacted with a number of people and did more research, seen how much sickle cell disease actually affects a person, seeing how volatile it is to be living with sickle cell disease. And I can't imagine how it feels to either be a warrior or be a caregiver, to always live on the edge. Anyway, so today we are here courtesy of Crimson Courage, and they have a very impeccable journey to be here today. They've grown over a period of time. They've fostered collaborations. They've partnered with people, and you guys have made it what it is today. So let's just take a few minutes to get to see the journey Crimson Courage has had so far. And meniklapia kweli tangu tuanze.
The voices of sickle cell warriors.
Vile tulianza kushoot na ile kamera yako ndogo, unakumbuka tukiwa na hope za kushoot podcast kwa ile hoteli fulani huko nini, yani ilikuwa challenging.
Huwezi survive solo as a content creator. You had
Hi everyone, my name is Tracy, and this is Crimson Courage, whereby we amplify
At least we are able to see good quality content coming out there.
Definitely.
We shout out Newton Mutuku na timu yake. Yani umsi
shukran. And if you're watching this, I know itafikia.
Newton ifikie Newton yani. Yani yeye ndo baba yetu hapa CC Hub, yani tunashukuru sana.
We are very grateful for this space, and imetusaidia sana, even like tumehold event. We have been shooting podcast hapa hivi mazee. Special thanks to iHub and all the execs wenye wana make this place kwa this for all the creatives, and our bagui, by the way, man, if you ever noticed. So
you just join the community, and it's simple. Just attend a 2-day virtual meeting, and then you're able to enjoy these things. Hata hii space yenye tuko leo, hii auditorium, you get it literally for free with all the benefits that are there.
Then that deserve a round of applause. Nitawakumbusha mclap kila sana. But I'm very patient. I'll keep on reminding you. Anyway, our next segment is on sickle cell and disability. Disability and sickle cell. I don't know which one should come first, but as warriors, different things. Okay, let me start as a person. Let us do a simple activity. I want 5 people to come in front. Just 5. Okay, 5 more without a camera. Since you're smiling, just come. It's not a difficult activity, just come. Come on. 1. 4 more. My cyclist friend. We have 3. 2 more. Please come, if that's okay. Yeah. Okay, 1 more. Could you please come? Just come, please, for the sake of this. No, him, Douglas. So let's just move the chairs a little bit so that we have space. Move it also a little bit, alafu tusonge hapo nyuma kabisa. So when I mention something, if it relates to you, you step forward. If it does not relate to you, you keep your space. So tukue kwa line moja. Okay. Is there any warrior there? Okay, it doesn't have to be you. Just pick something. If I say something you feel it relates with, not necessarily relate with you, just step forward if you want to. If you don't want to, stay behind, okay? If you are a warrior, step forward. Okay. If you are living with disability, step forward. It doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be you. Just so you know, it doesn't have to be you. You can choose. If you have insurance, medical insurance, step forward. Take bold steps. Are you forward 2 steps or forward 1 step? Ensure there is a distinction if you're 1 step forward or 2 steps forward. If you are if you're well off, if you're living well off, step forward. Okay, like if you can afford like nutritious meals, if you can afford a little bit of luxury, that kind, you step forward. Okay. If you have access to information, especially health and education, step forward. Thank you. So, this simple exercise is to illustrate how different things could affect your movement or growth as a person. Okay? So you could imagine if he was a warrior with no access to information, who's not living well off and doesn't have medical insurance, where would he be in this situation? At the back, right? If he was a warrior with disability, with no insurance, with no access to information, what disadvantage will that, like, at what place will he be in this equation? Very disadvantaged, okay? Thank you so much, guys. So now we want to talk about intersectionality. Intersectionality, when 2 different issues come together, what then how do people navigate them? How do people deal with the compounded intersection, like the compounded marginalizations that come up? So for our next panel, we are to have a caregiver. We are to have someone living with disability, and to have our host. So as they prepare to come forward, just a reminder, we have a space aboard there where you can write a note to a warrior, to a caregiver, to anyone in the space today. Feel free to just move there for a few minutes, write a note. You can even write a note to yourself in the future, to your past self, anything. Just feel free to share, feel free to write. So I'll just give a round of applause as we welcome our guests. Tuko na nguvu, changamke.
Thank you. I'm back like I never left. So today, I don't know if you've noticed that there is something quite special happening here. So apart from the sickle cell warrior community, we also have the persons with disability community. As you can see to my left, we have Judy Kihumba from THLEP, talking hands, listening eyes. Yeah, here translating to us, to our deaf community. So this is a disability inclusive space. We love each other, we care for each other, and we listen to each other. So that is what led us to having this conversation. This conversation is about disability, not only the physical kind that you can see with your eyes, but what actually constitutes of the definition of disability. At what point should maybe our society or the government recognize that we need help from them? So that's why I'm being joined here by capable experts in this conversation. Our first host, we have Wanjiru. Yes, welcome. So Wanjiru is actually our celebrated persons with disability, right? She has been recognized, and she's here to demonstrate to us that disability goes beyond what you can see with the eye. So just wait for your microphone. Karibu sana. Tell the people something.
Tracy? Yes. Well, this is a surprise because I didn't know I'd be part of the panel, but I was to come with a good friend of ours, Bwana Chiti, and he's actually the #1 blind African librarian, you know. There's no other like him, so we should celebrate as Kenyans that we have the first blind librarian in Africa. But because of some other duties, he was unable to come. And now here I am. And Tracy had asked you, make sure, and Donald, make sure I'm not on the video. And here I am now.
Here you are, because now you're part of the community. And we'll also be joined by someone else. She is a parent, she is a caregiver. That means that she is a health practitioner. Please, Odor, come and join us. Karibu sana. Feel at home. This is my space. Karibu. Yeah, so you can just introduce yourself and just tell us something about yourself. Tell them your name, what brought you here, or how you landed here today. Yes. Is it
My name is Anne Alice Ouma. I am a mother of 3, healthcare worker. I'm a clinical officer, ENT specialist. I work with Nairobi County, but I came here in a capacity as a mother and a caregiver. I saw this advert on the Children's Sickle Cell Foundation, and me and my son, we chose to come. We chose to come because my son just celebrated 1 year after stem cell transplantation in India. And
Wow,
so I thought it was...
wait. Just say that again. It's been 1 year since?
Stem cell transplantation.
Wow. Wow. Do you know what that means? Do you know what that means? Maybe someone in the audience has an idea of what it means to go through stem cell transplant. Okay. Come, we want to see you.
Hi, Annalise.
Hello.
This is Mama Mike.
Oh, Mama Mike. Mama Mike.
It's a community.
Good to see you.
And Mike is here, wearing a mask.
Oh, Mike. Hey.
Stem cell transplant. It's a procedure where you receive good cells or stem cells from a donor. For example, Michael received stem cells from his older brother to replace the kind of cells that he generates in his body through the bone marrow. The bone marrow is where the blood cells are fabricated. So Michael is going to be 1 year old since the stem cell transplant was done in India in early July last year. And Michael was SS, which means that he had sickle cell as a sickler. And now he is AS, which means that he is a carrier, like his brother who donated the good stem cells.
Wow. Wow. That's the strength of a parent. That's the strength of a caregiver. So, Annalise, I want to just say thank you and congratulations for the far that you've come. I know it's not been easy.
It has not been easy, but as one person said here, as Janice said, you just take 1 day at a time. It's never easy for a parent. It's never easy for the warrior, but you take 1 day at a time. In fact, it reaches a point you only need to live now. You don't have to live the whole day. If this moment is okay, then you are okay.
Okay, all right. Maybe Wanjiro, also you can just tell us about your journey. Why are you such good friends with Mr. Chiti, our blind librarian? And how are you connected with the disability community?
First of all, I love reading. I was always an introvert growing up. I always used to look for books. And so I was at Maktabaku, the library, and I noticed that we had a Braille section. So I said, let me pop in and see. And from there, we just started talking with Chiti, and we ended up becoming good friends through our love of books and Kenya and our culture. And then, of course, one day I walk in, and there's this gentleman called Donald talking very excitedly with Chiti, and he ended up telling us a little bit about, yes, the sickle cell and the Crimson Courage Society, and we felt encouraged too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming to the community.
Definitely.
Feeling welcomed, feeling bold enough to speak for us and advocate with us. So maybe you can share a bit with us about maybe the journey of getting recognized as a person with disability in Kenya. What does it take, or what is the criteria?
All right, I was 11 when I was told I have epilepsy, and so epilepsy is under the National Council of People with Disability for Kenya. And at that time, it was very difficult, especially even medication. So I truly relate, even with those who came before, the other warriors, and they were speaking about, you know, the cost of medication and parents taking care of me. And it really did, yes, take a lot of their income. But one thing I truly appreciate is when we finally understood, you know, that it was epilepsy. And they sat me down, you know, my mother and father, and they simply told me, don't think, okay, I'm number 6 out of 7 children. So they basically told me, you know, don't think you're going to sit in a corner like a spoiled brat because you have something called epilepsy, you know. Everything that your siblings or even your schoolmates will be able to accomplish. If you ever want to do it, you also will be able to accomplish it. And for that, I give thanks. Yes, it was mostly the issue of medication and, yes, as we're saying, hospital care. That always took so much budget from my parents, but I thank God that they never complained. They said, what is, is. And I thank God also for the fact that even when you're talking, you know, about being sick, even as you know, when, for example, if you get the epileptic fits, you know, and the seizures, you find for some days you can barely do anything. Yeah. But if I wanted to do something, my parents, instead of saying, you know, can you do it actually? If I wanted to do any sport or anything, anytime growing up, they wouldn't ask me, can you do it? You know, they would just ask me, do you want to do it? You know, do you feel able, you know, to do it? Yes. And in that case, go do it. Yeah. And that's what I really, truly appreciate about it today. Yeah. And I thank God also for the organizations coming in, you know, to Kenya. For example, if it's all right, I'll mention KAWE, the Kenya Association of People with Epilepsy. And they give us a lot of support. And relating the government in that, there's always something to smile about because the medication coming in, you know, the government has, what do we call it, cut some costs on it through KAWE. And if you're registered as a person living with disability in Kenya, you know, you register also with KAWE, and then you'll be able to access like this medication. But the process is, let me not say, it is actually simple. But as Kenyans, we should also agree to follow, you know, the law. Because even registering with the National Council, you know, take your ID, make sure it's original, you see. Take your papers from a good, registered, known doctor, you know, or known hospital, you know, somebody with a good reputation. And then from there, they'll give you the forms and you fill. With KAWE, the first time they said, of course, come with a caregiver or somebody who has grown up with you so that we can truly know you do have epilepsy. Because even as KAWE explained to us, there are many trying to come in and just get the papers for free. Because when you're under the National Council of People Living with Disability in Kenya, when you're registered, there are actually a lot of benefits for us, you know, and a lot of people are trying to get into those benefits, Tracy, you know, without actually having the disability. So they do tell you that. And then, and as Kenya is Kenya, just be patient and pray, and God opens the doors. Nowadays, of course, the card is not the physical one that we had gotten a few years ago. In fact, it was KAWE who called all those registered and said, you know, the government is doing this thing. You know, mukutane hapa na hapa na hapa. It took us the whole day, you know, over there, but we thank God we did get our cards. But now again, they've changed it. It's online through eCitizen. And once again, just make sure, you know, yes, you got your papers through a good doctor, somebody they know. Make sure you have your kitambulisho kusema ndio mimi ni Mkenya, ninajivunia. And from there, we leave some of it to the network.
All right. Thank you so much for that insight of, you know, taking us through the process of what it takes to, you know, apply and get recognized as a person with disability in Kenya. So something that sickle cell warriors go through, and I'm sure, Annalise, you can be able to tap into that for us, but our blood is in such a way that it can create complications in the body. So as you mentioned epilepsy, yes, sickle cell crisis probably can happen in the brain, causing some sickle cell warriors to get either stroke or epileptic kind of episodes. For some sickle cell warriors, they experience organ or bone damage, whereby now they have to get maybe like a hip replacement, and this is how they are able to now qualify for disability in Kenya. So, Annalise, I wanted to just ask you, considering how sickle cell is considered as a special kind of disability of the blood, like in other countries, like let's say in Europe, why do you think in Kenya it has not yet gotten the support that it needs? Does it mean that I have to get to a point where I'm physically challenged to get the support that I need from my country?
I don't think you need to get disabled to get there, because recently the guidelines were released, and they highlight that sickle cell is a progressive non-communicable disease, and it has been. And now persons living with sickle cell can now they can now be registered as persons with disability. But if you got that guideline, there is just that section. Epilepsy is one of them, sickle cell. Of course, there is physical disability. Physical disability is what people know. Like they can see you blind, they can see maybe signs that you are not hearing, or maybe you have a limb that is not functioning well, but sickle cell is a hidden disability in that you can't see it, it's in the blood. But if you may ask me as a person, it's long overdue, because you may have a physical disability, but you are not in pain. Maybe you suffered from polio, you got a limb that is not functioning, but it's not painful. It's not compared to somebody who is going through a crisis. Okay, I may sound not very, I hope to be understood. You may have a disability that is not paining you, but this sickle cell is pain that is not, it's not physical. You can't see it. It can be equated, from books, it's equated to somebody in third stage of labor. For moms who have given birth, it's like a fractured limb with sustained pain, maybe being crushed with a door of something, and then you sustain that pain. It's not just one single whatever. My own son described his as pain that you're being ripped from within. It's a pain you can't really get to reach to soothe. It's not a pain you can soothe. And no, what happens, the red blood cells of normal people are flexible and they can go through the blood vessels easily. But when you have sickle cell, they have that sickle from the name, they are crescent-shaped. And so when there are adversities in your body, maybe you are dehydrated, you are sick, you are stressed, the blood cells can just clamp up. They clamp up and now block the blood vessels. When they block the blood vessels, the blood can't go through. If it's in the lungs, you can have that acute chest syndrome. They can block your airway. Maybe the blood supply that is supposed to be supplying your lungs, it can block up. If it's in the brain, if it is on a limb, it could be in any part of your body, like even in the intestines, it can block supply to your intestine and have a crisis in your abdomen. It could be in your bones. And now for the bones, like the hip bone has just one main blood supply. If supply is cut off and sustained, the bone at the hip, the femur, it dries off, and now the bone will start crumbling, and now you end up with an avascular necrosis of the head of femur, which now means that you have to go through a total hip replacement. Okay. So to avoid all that, you need self-care, you need to understand, you need support, sana hydration and quick response to any form of illness in your body. You don't wish it away. because like for my son, whenever he had a problem, we just have to respond immediately. The hardest moment is when he went to Form 1. I lost 5 kg because I didn't know he could survive. I didn't know he could survive there. Like when he went, I didn't sleep until I went back. There was a parents' meeting after 1 week. I went and saw my son was well. It's when now I started sleeping. I lost 5 kg in that 1 week of him going to Form 1, that mother thing you are talking about. Yes. Because we asked him between going to a day school near, we live around Utawala, just around there are not many schools, but we asked him between going to day school and going to boarding school. He chose boarding, and then now, when the calling letter came, they had called him to Tharaka Nithi. That's where my losing weight started. Now we had to not even open that letter until we secured a chance at Aquinas, Jogoo Road. Wow. I have a lot to say, but maybe I'll just pause there for now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you've said a lot. And even as a caregiver, I understand and I've been through what you're saying, whereby, the parent is now worried. If my child, who is a warrior, is away from me, will they be okay? And also, since you mentioned Tharaka Nithi, definitely the weather, there it's cold. Also, you're worried because harsh weather conditions, you know how it does our blood. So there was actually a lot to think about and for you to worry about. And caregivers actually go through this each and every day, and this is something that others cannot relate to, like maybe others in the workplace and such. And there's something you've also said about, when someone has polio and the limb had an issue, they are recognized under disability. However, they do not go through the debilitating pain that sickle cell warriors go through. And this is actually a sentiment that a friend of mine, a fellow Rotarian, she's called Brenda, and she has polio. So she's well known in the persons with disability community. And she shared the same. She said that, how come sickle cell is not recognized? Yet for us, we go through pain, a lot of pain, unwillingly. But for disability, it's just a mobility issue without any pain. So there's a lot of context there and something to think about.
One thing that maybe has made sickle cell lag behind is the stigma. People not wanting to talk about sickle cell, people like looking down upon people who have sickle cell, and also self-stigma, where somebody thinks that when you say you have sickle cell, now people will, people look at you differently. Because when it comes maybe to even looking for somebody to get married, you might lose your spouse immediately. Families have broken, so many things. So people just need to rise up on the stigma. But most importantly, we need to stop new children being born with sickle cell by doing premarital counseling and also by doing the sickling test. Let it be mandatory. Let it be in the mother-child booklet. Let it be like the way you test a child, maybe say at six months when their immunity has just settled, they plan for the way they plan the vaccines. That at this point in time, in Kenya, in the child's wellness journey, they have to test, and you need to grow up knowing your status the way you know your blood group.
Yes, that's true.
Such that now when you want to look for a partner to marry, you decide, you make an informed choice. You want to marry somebody who is have a career and you are a career, it will be a choice you have made. And you know choices have consequences. Because if you ask me, if I had known my spouse alikuwa na sickle cell, I wouldn't have chosen him. If I knew what I know today, I couldn't have chosen him. But I didn't know. I have 2 sisters who had children with sickle cell, but it didn't dawn to me that I was a carrier. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so even as Crimson Courage, there is a hashtag and a kind of messaging that we always put out, and that is know your genotype. Because with sickle cell being a genetic illness, this is the only way that you are able to at least control and plan for the next generation. And there's something that has also come up. So for example, with sickle cell, similar to what you're experiencing with epilepsy, there's that account of, not controlling or not knowing when an episode will happen. And this can create a lot of mental health issues. So how would you maybe advise or share with others about how to deal with that aspect of not being in control or not knowing whether either you're going to get a sickle cell crisis or epilepsy is going to affect, and dealing with mental health? How do you stay positive?
True. Well, in that respect, I'll thank my mother also for it. She's told me you can do it, as hard as it may be. But one thing I also resonate is that when it comes to people living with disability, and also now we are seeing sickle cell, for example, into the community. In as much as our parents and our caregivers, our friends, they love us, no matter. But they'll never be able to understand exactly what we go through or how we feel. And that is why I'm also here today, even if for me, I do not have sickle cell, but I do have epilepsy. And that's why we also came with my friend Douglas, who is hearing impaired. He is deaf. Because even as a community, we need to stick together. No matter our disability, we need to stick together because we are the only ones who really know what we are going through. And in that, we can also grow and help to educate other parents, other friends, other caregivers. And that's what I was very impressed with Crimson Courage. I said, no matter what, I'll try and come. Lisa Douglas will end in Msumpu, 2020. And back to your question, it's true. What you just need to do is be strict, be consistent. We have medication for epilepsy, so we just make sure, be consistent. Try not to miss the medication the way the doctor has told you to be taking it. Of course, there are doctors' visits to make sure, how are you doing, when was your last episode, and they see if they need to adjust. Yes, and another way also of helping is use technology to our advantage. Now that I'm a mom of 4, there's a certain time, with epilepsy, you should take your medication. I don't know if it is the same with sickle cell at a certain time. So in the evening, once my children come from school and I'm busy cooking, I'm busy doing what, I just set the alarm now on my phone, it's 7:30. Make sure so that I can take my medication. And my alarm rings, thank God nowadays my children, I'm like, Mama, the alarm has gone off, time for your medicine, And I go take my medicine. Otherwise, hizo masazi kipita, it also affects because we cannot understand the brain. That is just something you cannot understand. And masazi kipita, it's not a good thing. So use technology in that respect to also help us. Yes, and one thing I also wondered, Tracy, if you can also enlighten us. What about the parents who perhaps have children who do not have sickle cell, but perhaps the parent or the other sibling has sickle cell? Because I've just remembered in my case, for example, I know one time I got sick, and when I got a seizure, and it was my son who was alone in the house with me, and that thing really affected him because he had never seen that and he did not know what to do. Thank God there was a pharmacy downstairs, and the lady is a good friend of ours, so he just quickly ran downstairs and he said, come up, Mama, something is going on and I don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, and that thing, it affected him for very many months. I could even see that he was looking at me, a bit differently because it was something he just had never, faced before. He used to know, yes, I have epilepsy. Yes, I take my medication, but he had never come face to face with it. Mm-hmm. And but thereafter, after a while, he saw again medication. I'm back. It is still me. It is still Mama. Now he's calmed down a bit with it. So what about our children?
You see, with dealing with even genetic illness such as sickle cell, this means even within the family setup, definitely you'll find not just one person is affected. You'll find maybe if your siblings, like for example, in our home, there was me and there was my sister who had sickle cell. And then later on, she developed, she was getting epileptic fits because of the complication of the blood just basically breaking down in the brain. Yeah, so it got to a point where she was getting, you know, those kind of epileptic fits. So now this is the importance of even knowing your genotype, because you find now in a family dynamic, it's not only just one person who's affected. You know, there's me, there's my sister, who I love very much, and each one of us, we have to see how to support each other. And then there's the aspect of the caregiver, because there's our brother, who's also here, and there's the parents. So there's a lot going on in that scenario. So Annalise, I don't know what you can tell us about such an aspect of, you know, the mental health and the support of a caregiver when dealing with or taking care of someone who's affected by either a disability or even sickle cell in this case.
Sometimes they need, okay, nowadays we have mental health specialists in the hospitals. Like in Nairobi here, we have at Ngaira, we have a psychologist there. If a person so needs those services, they are there. And in our local facilities, we have in Nairobi, we have the MH-GAP form. MH-GAP form is a form that you can even use online to assess your mental status. And mental illness, there is mental health and mental illness. We have that degree. The degree can vary. There are those days you can feel very low, like feeling depressed. If that depressed session continues for so long, it can lead to depression. And now there are those symptoms you will get. But just having, being sad 1 day, 2 days may be considered normal. Sometimes people go through sad moments, but it should not be sustained for a very long time. Feeling signs that somebody may be going through mental ill health could be being unkempt. Ulikuanga smart, sasa wachana na hii swag ya Gen Z. Najua Gen Z atakuwa smart, but nywele ziko hivi. Sio vile tulikuwa kitambo, hiyo nywele ingekuwa considered ikiwa unkempt. But hii inafanywa hivi. Haijachanuliwa. It's not that I mean. Kuna ile wellness, nguo umetengeneza mzuri, makucha iko sawa, umeoga, umefanya. So kuna mtu alikuanga msafi, but currently now they are dirty. They are not eating well. They are maybe eating too much or eating too little, not getting sleep, just wanting to be alone. Maybe they have some suicidal thoughts, and they are maybe just on the edge. Anything you say, they are just on the edge, breaking down to cry without a major reason. Sometimes those could be pointers. Maybe in the house, you see somebody just starting to cry. Maybe you just mention something and they are just crying. It could be pointers that maybe they are struggling. They are struggling, and it's now becoming evident. Most people are able to hide their mental state, but sometimes it can become obvious, and so we need support. When it reaches such a point, maybe it depends on whom you approach. There are people whom you approach and your situation can get worse, but we can advise that you seek help. You seek help in the hospital because you will find help.
Thank you so much. And I would also just ask you to share with us, like for example, that link for self-assessment for MOH. Yeah, and then I will share also with the group. Such resources are very important for us to have. And at this moment, I'd love to open up to our audience, both online and here physically, to ask a question to one of our panelists. So one from the live audience and one from our physical audience. Who has a question? Feel free. Okay.
Barizenu. My question is, I'm in the space for awareness and advocacy. So if we are to, because there's a lot of lobbying, there's a lot of aligning with different leaders up to the level of MPs, what's the process for us as friends of the sickle cell warriors? What's the step that we'll go through in terms of starting that journey to have the condition acknowledged that as a disability by the government? Maybe kama mnajua.
Good question for you.
For you to be acknowledged as a person living with disability, you need to be assessed. You go through the assessment and then you will be classified. You will be classified under various categories according to the guidelines. Maybe I'll also share with you the guidelines so that this guideline is in the public and anybody can read. So they will assess you. You need to get reports from the doctor, and then actually a panel of doctors sit, including physiotherapists. It's a multidisciplinary team that sits to evaluate your situation, including any relevant reports. If you have hearing disability, you'll have been done maybe a BERA test. A BERA test is a test that they are done when you are asleep, actually. You are not able to tell that, so that it does not depend on you, because people have also faked their disability of hearing. So they do it when you are asleep. And then, of course, there's the physical one where they are able to see maybe on X-rays, and also the physically, how you look like. Now, when it comes to sickle cell, you can have that now. The reports, maybe you could be having organ damage, maybe you'll be having a physical disability, maybe your hip is, maybe you are blind. There could be visible things. Now, they categorize you according to where you are. But generally, sickle cell disease is classified as a progressive illness. So in short, a multidisciplinary team sits and decides. For example, in Nairobi, you can have that assessment by the doctors done at Mama Lucy and Mbagathi in public hospitals. It's done in a public facility, Mbagathi, Mama Lucy. So they sit and then I'll give you the reports that you can, together with your ID and the requisite documents, you take in NCPWD, yeah, National Council for Persons Living with Disability.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that insight. So I would encourage us sickle cell warriors, don't let it get to that point whereby it's, you getting to the last resort. Yes, the weather also concurs with me. Gather your documents, go ahead and get that assessment. Getting recognized for disability is not a weakness. It is actually you getting the support that you need. So go ahead and seek it. Go ahead and advocate for yourself. And even as Crimson Courage, we advocate for warriors. Did you get a question from online, the online audience?
5% of employees in organizations are supposed to be persons living with disability. And employers cannot get enough. But you need to have the requisite papers.
Okay. Any other question?
He doesn't have a question, but let me ask about the stem cell transplant. Is every warrior eligible for that? It's just for specific warriors? Because, yeah, some people undergo it and come out well, and then I also had some people undergoing the stem cell transplant and having complications later. So is everyone eligible for that? And also, what is the process of undergoing the transplant, and is it advisable to everyone?
Okay, stem cell, before you go for stem cell transplantation, there are assessments that you are going to be done. For my son, they did a test called HLA typing. That one determines the cell you are, okay, I took all my children for HLA typing to determine who the donor can be. So you need to have a donor. You need to have a donor, and a donor can be a full match or sometimes a half match. Half matches are parents, and full matches can be a sibling. So I think anybody can have a stem cell transplant, but you need to be assessed. And if you have any existing problems, they have to be sorted out. If you have any existing infection in the body, for example, if you have an active infection in the bone, in your teeth, in any part of the body, you have a leg ulcer, you have anything, you have to be well, as in you have no current infection, and then now they subject you to chemotherapy. For our case, my son it was a high-dose chemotherapy for 7 days, from day 7 to day 0, and then day 0 now is when now my son was given the stem cells. While my son was being, my son's cells were being reduced to 0, like you are given chemotherapy until your cells are 0. My elder son, who is the donor, was being given cells to increase his stem cells to be harvested. Actually, when people hear bone marrow transplant, they picture the old way of harvesting bone marrow cells right from the bone. Usually it used to be the hip bone or the sternum here. But nowadays, they are using stem cells. So stem cells are cells that can grow up into any type of cell after they are transplanted into your body. So after that now, they have to maintain the transplant using drugs, which my son is still taking up to today. Because again, when they introduce the cells in the body, remember the cells, the body is at 0, so that it doesn't recognize something foreign in it. Because if it does recognize, then it will fight. It will put up a fight that something foreign is in my body and try. Now that one results to something called graft versus host disease. Graft versus host disease is what can make the transplant to fail. So they have to put you on a medication that is lowering the immunity so that the body doesn't put up a fight, at the same time maintaining the graft to pick up. So my son, after transplant, had around 14 drugs he was taking in a day. But just before they are admitted for transplantation, he stopped taking hydroxyurea, he stopped taking folic acid, the drugs he used to take. Once he's admitted in the bone marrow transplantation unit, they stop, and then now they start the process. So all those other drugs were stopped. So I don't know whether I've answered you, but if you are assessed and you are found fit, you can be done. And you need to have a donor. The best outcomes sometimes have been from full matches, or you can have half matches. Half matches could be from your parent, sana your father. The fathers give better half matches, but even half matches do well, depending on some of the, how to maintain that transplant depends on whether you'll get any challenge immediately after. If you get any challenge, for example, an infection, because you have a lowered immunity, some diseases that are suppressed when you get after you have been done what? Chemotherapy, your body, there are illnesses in your body that are suppressed. For example, all of us are exposed to TB, but the body has been able to contain it until you get maybe a reason why your immunity is down, and then it can flare up because there's a lot of TB in the society. Also, something like cytomegalovirus, there are other viruses that we are all exposed to. Majority of us are exposed to them. So when you find that when now your immunity has been lowered, they can come up. So most of the drugs are to help you stop these diseases from flaring up, and they also monitor very closely. Like after the transplant, they will take samples every morning. Sometimes even every other time, they will take samples to monitor how you are doing. And then now they can start doing, from there they win to every 2 days, every 3 days. They do weekly. In case of any problem, they can revert you to 2 days again. So after transplant, we stayed in India for 100 days. 100 days from day 0. So you start counting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now today we are day 365 plus from 3rd June. If you take out today's 20th and 17 days, 1 year, 365 days and 17 days on top. And we have to continue for treatment for 1.5 years. We are still under review. We are still under follow-up. We are still under tests. And the hardest bit of it is that the drugs are not in Kenya. The follow-up drugs are not in Kenya. And even the tests, some of the key tests have to be done in India. For example, for the main drug which my son is taking, to monitor the levels in blood, it is being sent to India. It takes a few days for them to return. So I really appeal to the government if they can put up a unit to just do some of these things locally, because it's very expensive abroad.
May I add something? I forgot, Tracy, to answer a question you asked about health. And you've mentioned immunity, and it's very important for each and every one of us also, irrespective of what disability or whatever health aspect or challenges we are facing. Please, let's be healthy. Let's eat healthy. Let's do healthy things. And on top of that, knowledge is power. For example, one time I asked myself, why is it sometimes I would get seizures, and before I was not getting so much? I went online and I asked, even some of the epilepsy communities, what can trigger seizures, yeah? And one answer that I was given was screen time. And you say, I think in Kenya, we are told we are number 2 being on the screen on the whole world. Yeah, I think we are number 2 for screen time. And I never knew that screen time can actually trigger seizures for me, you see. So that's something I came to know. And I started reducing my screen time. On top of that, they're now saying the new cancer is sitting down. Because we have the generation that is online, and now we are seated. All our meetings are on Zoom, isn't it? They're on Google Meet. We're just there sitting. Yeah? I remember I'm also a part of a senior citizens club. And they said now every 30 minutes, make sure you stand up. And these are senior citizens who are also online with their meetings. They're over 55, you see. But they said, make sure every 30 minutes, munasimama, for your meeting. So knowledge is power. We have it at our fingertips. We are blessed in Kenya. You know, even thank you, IHub, we walked in, first thing I'm like, where's the free Wi-Fi? Thank you very much. You know? So let's use that knowledge that we have. Let's stay healthy. What we are eating, please, let's increase the varieties of our foods. You know, let's not just stick with one or two. Again, Kenya, we are blessed to konandoma na ngwashe. Why are we all eating potatoes every other day? Yes, we have all our different greens. It's hard work, yes, indeed, isn't it? But force yourself to have those as part of your menu. Please, please. And reduce the sugar content you're taking. And there isn't much, I know I'm a nutritionist, but there isn't much as yet I've discovered about the balanced diet that we need for Crimson Courage for those who have sickle cell. But I thank God because in everything we learn, and even Douglas and I today, we've learned a lot about another aspect of another community. And we thank God because we're going to be partnering together. Yes.
Thank you so much, Wanjiru, for reminding us that aspect that is quite important, taking care of ourselves all rounded. And I know there might be a lot of questions towards Annalise, but I would please like to conclude this segment. What I can say is I can have a podcast session. Yeah, I'll ask her. We can have a podcast session whereby we go in depth into stem cell transplant, the financial implications, how do you contact like the facilities that are able to do this treatment. And yeah, I think that's something that our audience, gotten from the feedback here physically and online, would love to have. And we can just take the last question over there.
Can you hear me? Thank you so much for the discussion, especially coming from Annalise, the aspect of stem cell transplant. There was a question asked where is every sickler eligible for the stem cell transplant? I have been talking to many patients and caregivers and medical people, and they are saying it may not be everybody. It's not a blanket expectation. There are people who have sickle cell and they are managing their life very well. They have not had maybe extreme crises like extreme pain episodes or wounds or stroke. Their quality of life is relatively good. So it takes a lot of evaluating all these factors before coming to that decision. Because stem cell transplant itself is a high-risk procedure. You may have 100% match, like our son had with his brother, but you are still exposed to sudden triggers which you don't know where they come from. So it is still a thing of weighing the benefit and the risk factors. So it may not be everybody who qualifies, but look at all the historical record of the patient and how are they managing their life. If the warrior is stable, sometimes you may decide to just let them be. Maybe the pain episodes are not as intense or as frequent, and they're managing their life okay. Then the other thing I wanted to comment on is regarding the genotype and the marriage issue. It's a delicate thing, and even as Anna Alice has commented, you need to know your genotype. But if you happen to find yourself in a relationship with somebody who is a carrier, don't abandon them, don't abandon yourself. There's options for adoption, that is one thing. And other than that, it's very important to accept one another. I remember one of the themes for Sickle Cell Day some time back was the beauty of acceptance. You would not want to be rejected because of something which you had no control over. So if you find yourself in that situation, think about the privilege God gave you just to be alive and learn how to work around every challenge. It takes a lot of grace. So there's the informed choices, yes, but don't reject that person because you have the same challenge. There's a way to work around it. You can decide to marry but not to have any children. You can decide to adopt. So there's many ways of looking at it. So think I've addressed 2 challenges. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I think we'll move to the next segment. We'll have Feli, unless there's any last question. Okay.
Okay, my question is to Annalise. As a caregiver, how have you been able to balance your life, being a caregiver, and the other aspects of your life, maybe your social life, your work life, your family life? How do you balance, and how do you ensure that being a caregiver doesn't overweigh these other aspects of your life?
Thank you for your question. Being a caregiver to Eliud has not been so hard because as a family, I was privileged to have a very supportive spouse. You can't do this thing alone. And even his siblings really understand him. And then we taught Eliud his routine very early in life. And he was a complying boy. So he tried his best to care for himself, like doing water, voicing any need that he has, eating, like ensuring he feeds well. And feeding well, nowadays we don't talk about balanced diet. We talk about food groups. We should eat at least 5 to 7 food groups. If you Google food groups, you'll get. So you get small bits of food, and then you look into the portions. So you try, and you don't have to go for expensive food. Managing sickle cell needs very good nutrition, hydration, mental wellness, and emotional support. There are those low moments, but you need to support your caregiver. You need to be there for them. You need to respond. When they voice their concerns, you be responsive. Responsive means stopping what you are doing and just going to attend to them. Like when my son was at Aquinas, whenever I got a phone call from the class teacher, something could just disappear from my tummy. You just feel something running away, like you feel that, what is it this time? Good enough, sometimes they will tell you maybe he needs this and that. There are times my son could think that maybe he's being too much asking for help and the others are going on. He will miss so much, but I will tell him, masomo ni ya wale wako sawa. If you are not well, you cannot compete. You can only study when you are well. You can't be studying when you are sick. And you know, the longer you take to respond to the problem, then it gets worse. So at my workplace, at one point, I've lost opportunities. Like there was a time they want to send you somewhere, they say, hey, huyu anakuanga na mtoto mgonjwa. This one normally has a sick child. Hataweza, like they want to give you a post, and they say that is too demanding. You have a sick child. There's another in charge of a certain facility I won't mention, who forced me I had to take Eliud with me to work. You can get people who don't understand, and you don't have a housemaid. You have patients to take care of. So you have to balance. I just carried my son to work, anakaa hapo pharmacy na pharmacist, and then I'm seeing patients, and then we go home. But it's good to be, and this in charge of that facility is a mother like me. So whenever you are in power, it's good to be understanding. Don't dissociate yourself with the reality and think that you feel like you are out of this world. It's good to be human and try to understand. Because even if I'm there and my child is sick, I may not give the best care to the people I'm caring for. My child comes first. If my child is not well, I may just be there physically, and then I end up making medical errors to the people making bad decisions to the patients I'm trying to serve, you see. Mnamdunga sindano ambayo haistahili because wewe unafikiri unadunga mtoto wako ambaye ako mgonjwa nyumbani. So, but we have had supportive, not everybody has been bad. There are some people, staff who have been very supportive, yes.
Something that you have said that actually resonates with what we do as Crimson Courage. Definitely we educate. We educate about different chronic illnesses, non-communicable diseases, as well as disability inclusion. So even the kind of partnerships that we are looking into is those that will allow us to at least give the solutions. Like for example, in the workspace, tell at least the HRs, you know, even in the public transport space, how to include us even in the system. Consider our caregivers, you know, don't exclude because of the reason of they have a heavy baggage. In fact, include because they have more that they need to take care of.
Yeah, it is true. In the workspaces, I think they have become a bit disability friendly. But even starting with this podium, it's not disability friendly. If somebody came here with a wheelchair, they won't be able to come on this stage. Then now there is this, there's lack of knowledge on part of the healthcare workers. I think the syllabus is not very inclusive or is not very deep. They give you whatever, and then now when you come to this, to practice, it depends on where you are posted. If you are posted in Kisumu, you might have prevalence of some problems. Maybe you are in Central, maybe you are here, and then now some of the information you get along the way. So you will find that you may land in a facility where people don't have sufficient knowledge to care for you. And sometimes you may meet a language that may not, you might feel like an insult, but sometimes it's just because they are ignorant. Not everybody who is educated anaweza kuwa ignorant when you are still educated. Ignorant in the sense that you don't have the right information. Sometimes you'll go to a facility and you are that is helping out in managing your patient. And some of them will not take that from you. They will not take it from you, even if you have the right information. So maybe guidelines, implementing the guidelines can help in caring for the patients. There's a lot of information, lack of the right information. And then also in the country, we are losing the best of healthcare workers. Yes. Maju, wanaenda, because of unaddressed needs locally. So you get people who are inexperienced, saa zingine ndio wamebaki huku. The cream is always flying and going.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Wanjiru, and thank you, Annalise, for all the insights that you've given us. You've really given us a breadth of knowledge. Asanteni.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. So the conversation has been so interesting. Hata wengine wetu hatukuwa tunajua kunanyesha. But before we dive right back in, I have a question. If you were to be stranded in a desert, what would you want to be stranded with? 3 things you'd want to be stranded with. Anyone who'd like to say?
So it's just a guess. I would take a satellite phone, a camel, and maybe like those bags people used to go for hiking, like Mount Everest. So like a bag of that sort with water and all those things.
That is actually very comprehensive and well thought. Anyone else, what would you take if you were to be stranded in a desert? 3 things you'd like to have. Okay, let me ask a different question. If you could commit a crime today, and that crime would never be committed again. Like, kama ni kuua mtu, ukiua mtu leo, hakuna mtu atawahi ua mtu mwingine tena. You will be the last person to ever commit that crime. What will it be? Which crime will you commit? Lomo akona kitu? Lomo.
Jokes.
Like just any crime. If you could commit any crime and it will never be committed again. Be creative. Niko sure mko na issues with all these crimes you are seeing. Killings, rape, stealing, corruption. If you could commit any of them and no one will ever commit it again, what crime will it be?
It's a very simple one. I would lie, because once you lie, everyone else will have to stop lying. And you'll be good for life. At least that's how I think of it.
No, the condition of the game is once you commit it, no one else can. So he would lie. What will you do?
For me, if I was to commit a crime that nobody else would commit, I think I will maybe rob a big bank, because once I've robbed it, nobody can take the money away from me and I'll always be safe and sorted for life.
I thought you'd say no one will never rob a bank again, but it's interesting that no one will never rob you. Anyone else would like to try? What crime will you commit?
Okay, for me, I'll steal a lot of money from the richest bank in Kenya or in the world. Yeah, because I know the money is going to help me in my healthcare, first of all. Taking care of my health is a challenge, especially when you don't have maybe health insurance or any other things. I'll first of all consider my healthcare, and then my future, my education, what I'm going to be eating, and yeah, I'll just steal a lot of money.
Anyone else would like to?
Personally, I would discriminate on the basis of gender, race, and class.
I stand with you. I stand with you. Anyway, so as we continue this conversation, sickle cell disease has been a silent fight. It has been an invisible fight. And today we want to urge you as a person, different organizations, and even policy influencers to speak about this and speak about it as a disability, name it, showcase it, and always, always speak up about it. So we'll have a short break. You can get to know your neighbor. You can get to say hi, give someone a hug, get to know what their role is here today, and then we'll get back in a very short while. Unfortunately, it's raining, so the lounging area is not going to be very accommodating, but you can move around freely in here. Mniklapia hata, si tumetoka mbali.
you're all well. So my name is Susan Akinyi. I am Tracy's sister. I am, yes, Susie. But you can also call me Kiki. Yeah. I'm Tracy's sister. I'm here as her assistant today. So I'm happy to see all of you.
So this journey is all about parents. Kujikaza tu, especially when you're firstborn, when everybody's looking up to you. So you always find a way to just come back up and just make everyone proud of you. Wewe ndo wanakuangalia.
My name is Eileen, a mother and a caregiver to a sickle cell warrior, 13-year-old Kaylee. This month, as a sickle cell awareness month, I would love and wish for people to come and support for awareness on this, so that people can know much more about sickle cell anemia. To curb stigma, I wish for screening. People can get if people can get tested, so that parents can know before kids are born. Because I feel that it is better for you to know your genotype before you get your kid. Apart from that, we pray that people can come through for mothers, for kids to have clinics, free medications. Mothers can be counseled. These kids can get meetups and talk about their challenges and what they love doing. I think this can be a great initiative if we all come together and do this.
Then day 3 tunaingia Ugenya. Then on the 4th day is now pomp and glamour. So it will be a multi-stage. Anyone can ride. Anyone who can do like 100 kilometers comfortably, atakuwa welcome. And we'll be streaming live this event as a fundraising tool, so that watu wachangishe. This is a project that will need upwards of almost 10 million to see a whole health facility
from ground
from ground. Actually tunaweza sema from ground juu Buda Tracy ashapeana donate land na ashajenga nyumba. So ni sisi kuleta hizo beds, kuhakikisha tu like
equipment
kuna na equipment haiwezi kosa watu wa kuhandle and just making it an official facility, whether it will be handed over to the county, but Crimson Courage ndio itakuwa inahakikisha test kits ziko hapo. Sisi tuko na diagnostic kit na tuna test kits. So basically itakuwa hivyo, na naweza taka sana kuona
especially my youngings kuja hapo hivyo. I'll be there. Biggest hivyo, big shot it. It's been a journey and so far so good. Tuna get something positive from whatever we're doing. And seeing the views views tuna get from every single video, every episode, unaweza ona uko demoralized, but I'm so happy that there's at least 2%, 5% yenye wana comment and they're actually going to those places to get tested. Hakuna kitu positive kaa hiyo man. Mimi ndio imenibamba ndio sana.
Hi everyone, my name is Tracy, and this is Crimson Courage, whereby we amplify the voices of sickle cell warriors.
We vile tulianza kushoot na ile kamera yako ndogo, unakumbuka tukiwa na hope za kushoot podcast kwa ile hoteli fulani huko nini, yani ilikuwa challenging.
Huwezi survive solo as a content creator. You had one camera.
Tulikuwa na kamera moja na tunataka kushoot angles tatu.
Yeah, the space now they gave us cameras, they gave us mics and tunafanya nao kitu tunafanya.
At least we are able to see good quality content coming out there.
Definitely.
We shout out Newton Mutuku na timu yake. Yani umsi
shukran. And if you're watching this I know itafikia.
Newton ifikie Newton yani. Yani endo baba yetu hapa CC Hub, yani tunashukuru sana.
We are very grateful for this space and imetusaidia sana, even like tumehold event. We have been shooting podcast hapa hivi mazee. Special thanks to iHub and all the execs wenye wana make this place kwa this for all the creatives and our bagui, by the way, man. If you ever noticed, so
you just join the community and it's simple. Just attend a 2-day virtual meeting and then you're able to enjoy these things. Hata hii space yenye tuko leo hii auditorium, you get it literally for free with all the benefits that are there.
Hi everyone, my name is Tracy, and this is Crimson Courage, whereby we amplify the voices of sickle cell warriors.
We vile tulianza kushoot na ile kamera yako ndogo, unakumbuka tukiwa na hope za kushoot podcast kwa ile hoteli fulani huko nini, yani ilikuwa challenging.
Huwezi survive solo as a content creator. You had one camera.
Tulikuwa na kamera moja na tunataka kushoot angles tatu.
Yeah, the space now they gave us cameras, they gave us mics and tunafanya nao kitu tunafanya.
At least we are able to see good quality content coming out there.
Definitely.
We shout out Newton Mutuku na timu yake. Yani umsi
shukran. And if you're watching this I know itafikia.
Newton ifikie Newton yani. Yani endo baba yetu hapa CC Hub, yani tunashukuru sana.
We are very grateful for this space and imetusaidia sana, even like tumehold event. We have been shooting podcast hapa hivi mazee. Special thanks to iHub and all the execs wenye wana make this place kwa this for all the creatives and our bagui, by the way, man. If you ever noticed, so
you just join the community and it's simple. Just attend a 2-day virtual meeting and then you're able to enjoy these things. Hata hii space yenye tuko leo hii auditorium, you get it literally for free with all the benefits that are there.
friend like just hivyo maana kuna hii event haina do but unaweza tokea tu at least tuende to show support and all that, and I was like yo, ilini move juu the testing was done for the first time. They didn't care if you're a videographer or a photographer. We pia lazima kuwe tested, you know your genotype, and I was like yeah, that's something good. And in spaces where they recognize creatives, and nikapata kujua the Selimundo. Me hiyo the time to Selimundo ilikuwa nanibamba juu Selimundo was like yo, miss sikia shit anywhere, and now I'm being told that sickle cell in Swahili is Selimundo, and I got interested. I met kina Kiki, took photos of that comic book yenye Donald alipewa and shared it, and I posted it kwanza in my story, in my status, and like watu wanajua Selimundo, and that term to Selimundo, it was a bit fun, and watu walikam kujua and Selimundo, so yeah, it made me happy. Yeah.
And we look forward to just making it out there and reaching out to all the relevant people so that we get to the deepest part of Kenya. Kama ni Turkana, kama ni Ethiopia. Anywhere. Africa actually ndio platform yetu. Yeah, so Crimson Courage should have a flag in every capital city in Africa.
Yeah, man. Supporters, share the links, subscribe, follow us on our pages, Crimson Courage, all over. And it's been a pleasure having you guys watching us till the end. Adios.
But do give them your attention, okay?
Good afternoon. My name is Nasike Robai, one of Crimson Courage. We started with it with Tracy. Actually, Tracy came around and said, anyone who wants to participate in creating awareness, participate in podcasts and live events, and just be a warrior. It had been who is vocal. It had been a long time since I was ever vocal, almost for a whole year. I didn't talk about sickle cell because I didn't want to talk about sickle cell, because who wants to talk about sickle cell? But then you realize that there are more people who need to hear your voice and to be encouraged and to understand what sickle cell is, what maybe the family is going through, what every person is going through. And part of Warriors and the sickle cell community, we have caregivers. So this segment is for caregivers. I'm going to welcome two caregivers, Angelica and Aquinas. Karibu sana for this segment. I hope we will gain some insight from you. I will let them introduce themselves.
Hello. I'm called Aquinas Mujani. I am a caregiver to two warriors. I am a caregiver to two warriors, as I said. Two nieces, 17 years old. They have been on this journey for many, many years, as I said, 17 and 18 years old. It's became more of our journey, not just their journey, because since their birth, they were loved, but whatever happened, happened, but then the fight became for all of us, because when you have two people that are struggling and without a father, you have to find a way to step in, if you can, with what you can. So that's what I've been up to for the past 18 years.
Thank you. So, Angelica, please introduce yourself. Tell us about your role as a caregiver.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica Okalo. I'm a mom of one. Happy to be here. Happy to see you all. So I'm also a caregiver to one kid. He's 10 years old. And the journey, honestly, it's not easy. We can't lie that it's easy. It's not easy. Being that I'm a single parent, it gets to a point where you also end up being frustrated. We are not going to assume that. But at the same time, we appreciate the fact that the community is here to help us. As you can see, Crimson Courage has come in, and it's giving us more support, selling out more awareness. And you see, with people knowing what is going on, it becomes easier with the community. Yeah.
Thank you. So as caregivers, could you tell us what really affects you, either socially, financially, or emotionally? What is the biggest challenge for you?
For me, I believe it's emotionally, financially, it's very complicated, because one of the two, I don't want to use the word terminal, but the doctors has told us to just make her comfortable for the coming few months. She is in renal failure. She has a problem with the shoulder. She's had like 3 surgeries. The back also, so she can barely walk anymore. So the cost of the treatment has been crazy. So based that most of us are trying to survive I'm also a father, so I have 2 other human beings to look after, and not everybody who has something is going to have the heart to contribute to whatever is going on with the person who is sick. So you have to find a way with whatever you have to help with the hospital bills, because we spend at least, in a month, we spend at least 3 weeks in the hospital every month with at least each of them. And when we try to get medical insurance, it was complicated because some of them didn't want, like the rates were too high for some of them, and some of them just didn't want to take our cases, so it was very complicated. So financially, emotionally, it hasn't been easy. Especially also, like, this fight is not an easy fight. Many people don't really want to talk about it. Like, even people who know the situation, who understand the situation, they still choose to be silent about it. So the help is limited. So which makes sometimes you can receive a call in the middle of the night. The mother can, like my sister, can just be crying because like the kid is in pain. She's not, like one of them no longer responds to any pain medication, so she doesn't know what to do. So it's hard to, even for me to hear my niece crying in pain and not being able to help out, not being able to do something to help with the pain. And it's, emotionally, it's not easy, that I can't lie. So when I found the community online, it was a way for me to, I don't know, to have some kind of hope, to at least see, to see other people that are also fighting the same fight, and it helps emotionally, but the fight is not easy at all.
Thank you, Aquinas. As we can hear from Aquinas, one of the fundamental things is not just awareness, but speaking up. So for you, Angelica, what is the most challenging for you, especially as a single parent, a 10-year-old? What has really affected you?
First of all, starting with the kid, you realize the kid is always questioning everything. Children are always curious, yeah? So you get to a point where a child asks you, first of all, why am I going to the hospital like now and then? And why am I taking these medicines every now and then? You have to answer that question, and you have to be very honest. One of the things that you should never do is lie to your child about his condition. Let them understand as young as they are, this is where I am, and this is what I'm dealing with. So you realize a child will ask you. Sometimes you don't have the answers, or rather the right answers. But at the same time, you have to be really honest and tell them, according to the level of their understanding, this is what you're facing, and this is why we are going to the hospital. At some point, the child will tell you, I'm not taking these medicines anymore. They don't want to. And it's not because they don't want to get better. It's because they feel tired over it. So with that, you have to be someone who is very positive to encourage the child and tell them, you're not taking these medicines because you have to, but for the sake of your health, you need to be okay. There's nothing interesting about you going to the hospital, because you understand the medicines are taken daily, you know. Going to school, there's teachers involved, there's other kids involved, and you realize you have to explain to the teachers, because we are in a very different community, and like I said earlier, the community is not that informed about sickle cell. So when you tell someone, my child has sickle cell, that's it. But you have to go forward and also explain further what sickle cell is. So in the process, you find that you have to engage more than just one person. That is the teachers, the students in between, that is the pupils, and the board at large. Anyone who can just come in at any point, because there's a time where a child can be sick while in school, right? they need to know what they're dealing with, because the child will start crying. And as he cries, they will ask him what is wrong. Of course, the child doesn't know how to explain. He'll say, I feel pain. So they wouldn't understand if you beat the child yesterday and now he's in pain, or he fell down while playing. So with the awareness that you give in school, it becomes easier. The teacher knows exactly what to do. So it becomes so hard when you have ignorant people around you, number one. Number two, the child also accepting themselves. And me as a caregiver, you find that sometimes it can be overwhelming financially, emotionally, because I have to put up the face. I can't show my child that I'm giving them the washe kind of vibe where I feel sorry for them. I have to tell them and show them that this is what we are dealing with. So I have to put like a very strong face, as much as it's also draining me inside. You understand? So at some point it becomes so difficult. And even at home, you find that maybe the neighbors, they don't know what's happening. When you go back to the family, there are families who say, your child is cursed. You need to know how to deal with that. Because someone will say, I'm a single parent first of all. So they'll just wake up and say, this person, I think, the dad ran away because the child is cursed, you know? Because they are not aware, and you can't blame them. Accountability is very important. So you have to be very accountable about it, and that means you have to allow people to talk, because if you don't allow them, you'll be drained even more. So it becomes a whole issue with the community at large. You understand? So families are also part of it. It can be nuclear, it can be extended, because sometimes people know exactly what you're passing through, but they're like, me, I'm tired of all these things. I'm not doing this again. You just deal with your child. I can't do this. I can't help you, you know. So denial is there, and also just being thrown at the base, you know, like people just deciding, I'm not doing this with you, you're going to walk alone. So, yeah, those are the basic challenges.
Thank you, Angelica. As we have heard from both Aquinas and Angelica, community support goes a long way into caregiving and into looking after warriors. I think if you ask every warrior around here, they will not only tell you about their parents, their mothers, or their fathers, they will also tell you about the relatives. In my situation, there's a time where I had to stay with my grandparents. You know, you don't ask many questions to grandparents, but I think he realized maybe I was not taking my medication. So when it was time to take medication, I do not know if it was real medication, because I rarely saw my grandfather sick. But he would sit with a cup together, he will take his medicine, which was not medicine, and I would take my medicine, which was actually medicine. So you see how community supports everyone around us. But then there's also the challenges of some people are not aware, some people do not know what to do, some people clock out. I think there are some families where probably sometimes your siblings will clock out entirely, or your uncles, other people will clock out and think, hii ni shida yako. And there is also when there are myths in the families. This is a problem for your family. You came with this thing, this strange thing in your family, so this is you. On the other hand, we still have the fact that it is genetic. So this information and awareness getting out is really important to us. So finally, the last question, if you could appeal to policymakers, to the wider community for support, what is the most urgent support that you would love from policymakers, from organizations, from the government, non-governmental organizations, and even insurance companies? What are the things that, as a caregiver, you would love for them to prioritize?
me, I think it would be asking them to make to allow us to have easy access to insurance. Because when you have children going through those kind of situations and you don't have health care, it becomes a problem. Paying out of pocket is very expensive. And no matter how many people support you, no matter how much money you have, with time it becomes very heavy on your pocket. So if there is a way they could make easy access for medical insurance, that would be something that would be very helpful. Because healthcare in Africa, in Kenya specifically, or even in many African countries, it's very expensive. And having also, it's not just about just healthcare in general, but it's also healthcare that is targeting this kind of disease specifically. Because having a hospital is one thing, but having a hospital that can actually treat someone who is suffering from sickle cell disease is also something else. Because you can have a nurse that have treated normal people for malaria and other things, but a nurse that can actually someone who, when someone who is having sickle cell disease is having a crisis, it's very, very, very different. And these hospitals don't understand that. So when you show up with a child in pain, going through a crisis, and some of them don't actually know what to do, they would try to treat them as normal, like these are the normal diseases, but it's not. They need the nurses, the doctors, we need to have the people that actually are trained specifically for this kind of problems. And here in Kenya, it's something that I don't think it's really, really available to many people, and also in many other African countries, it's also not there. So I think those are the things I would ask.
For you, Angelica?
Well, I think awareness is one thing, because we can't deal with something that we don't know. So first of all, I'll talk about awareness. You see, the way we understand cancer and AIDS, even for a young child, when you talk about cancer, they're like, okay, that's a very deadly disease. As much as they don't know exactly what it is, but they have an idea. So first of all, it's about awareness. Secondly, create support groups, or rather support organizations, because you understand, like, you might have a child, like I've been in the clinics and you find that you have a parent who has a child, like 3 or 4, but still they don't know how to deal with their children. They know nothing about nutrition. They know nothing about medication. They know nothing about what to do if it ends up like they are just them and the child alone without the medicines. So you find like if they are aware more about this, it becomes so easy. And also, maybe some free medical camps and places where people can be like checked before getting children, because it's a genetical disease, right? So that means if we go get tested, me and my partner, you realize you have a chance of having a child who is a warrior. And I also have the same issue. What can we do about it? So it goes back to awareness. So if we can have places where they give chances to people, because, okay, there are people who can afford it, but there are also people who cannot afford it, but they are willing, you know? So if we go to the point where me and my partner can decide, okay, or rather someone who wants to get children goes to the hospital and says, I want to be tested. I want to know if I give birth, what are the outcomes? Will I end up having a child who is a warrior, you know? Because it's better when we take caution than when we deal with it, right? So you find that if we take the chance to like give people the chance to decide whether they want such a child or not, it becomes so easy, because a lot of people want to know if they can give birth to a warrior. But people assume it's very expensive because it's not free. So most of the people just ignore and say, okay, let God decide what happens, you know? And that is not a good way of having a child. Because me being one of them, I've been at a point where I'm like, I'm not giving birth again, because why would I end up with a child with the same issue? But with time, I came to understand that's not how it works. I need to go to a medical facility, let them help me, then I'll find a way out of dealing with this. At the same time, like he has said, you find Kenya has not given it more audience. Like, yes, there are people who already know, and you can see when you go to Homa Bay mostly, most of the people now, they're being taught about sickle cell because it has become so rampant. Like, it's become like a normal disease around Homa Bay, yeah? And it's because of the Lake Victoria. But now, what about the other places that they have no idea? Because with time, it's going to spread, and we're going to have it like a calamity. We don't want that for our children. You don't want to see your child in pain every day. You don't want to see your relative with pain every day. So if the government can give that like a listening ear, listening hand, and also support financially, I think it will be very good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us in this segment. As we have heard, there is a lot of groundwork to be done in creating awareness, in managing sickle cell, and even in involving policymakers, because most of this is also a financial implication. And when it comes to financial implication, even the tiniest financial decision by the government has a trickle-down effect on warriors. We do not exist in an abstract, but as a community. And these are the things that even policymakers should consider when talking about healthcare, when talking about chronic illnesses, terminal illnesses, and not just blanket them in one section and say, these are chronic illnesses. I think that is what insurances do. So when you are reading your insurance policy, chronic illness, someone to be treated after 1 year, it is disheartening, and it is also very discouraging for any person who needs medical care. So these are the factors that should be considered in policy by government and governmental organizations, policymakers. It's not something abstract. We're a community, and as a community, we consider every aspect. Thank you for your time. We'll be welcoming back Feli to wind us up for us and usher us to the next section.
A round of applause. We are just getting to the good part. We're just getting to the good part. Tuchangamke. Okay? So thank you so much, guys, for this session. And we hope that you keep up with the resilience. And keep up with the strength. I usually don't like calling people strong or being called strong, but we hope that you adapt to situations as they come and that you conquer. So just quickly moving on, we have talked about organizational support today. And this here today wouldn't be the same without a very interesting partner, which is IQ via. I'll say via because in a sound kama trivia. They're doing very interesting work in relation to sickle cell disease. And I'll welcome Tracy to introduce them, and we can get to hear a little bit more about that. A round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks, Feli. I'm back again. So the next segment is quite interesting Because so far from warriors and caregivers, we've really gotten that question of organizational support. Who can we turn to for that support that we need, medical support that we need? So we want to look into one of the key areas that really affects warriors or there's questions about, and this is sickle cell trials. So in the past year, there has been a lot of conversations about it. Is it the right thing to do? Is it wise to get into a trial? What happens when a trial just ends? Where will I get the medication if that medication is too expensive? So I want to welcome Innocent and Barbara to please come and join me and help us to delve into this conversation and understand better why should we consider sickle cell trial. Karibuni. Welcome. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you.
Welcome, Innocent. Okay. You've been part of the audience since the beginning. How are you feeling, Innocent? How's the vibe for you, being part of Warriors and getting to hear from us, not only us Warriors, but our parents, our caregivers?
For me, I think many times as you're in the community and you're just taking it and you hear about sickle cell, but it hits different when you hear the actual stories from the warriors, when you hear the stories from the caregivers and what it actually takes to live in that space where you have this disease that you have to carry forward day in, day out. And so it's been very enlightening. I'm not living here feeling sad for anyone. I'm living here feeling encouraged by the strength that the warriors are showing.
Okay, thank you. Barbara, maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us how you feel now that you're here.
Thank you, and thank you very much for having us. Miheso Barbara, I'm a research scientist at the Kenya Medical Research Institute and also part of the Cochrane Kenya. And as we keep discussing, we'll delve into that so that you understand what we do. Being here for me was an eye-opener. So yes, you're in clinical trials, but I've been more in respiratory, so TB, asthma, more of respiratory diseases. So we do have clinical trial sites, but and that's why we work closely with Innocent, but more in respiratory. So just being amongst this team has been humbling. I love what the conversation has been reverberating about. It's by us, with us, not for us. And that's even us in the research field. We are changing that conversation so that we are not doing research for the patients, but we are doing it with the patients, yeah, and by the patients. So we are also adopting that conversation, and thank you very much for having us here.
We are happy to have you here. So Innocent, maybe you can just start with your role. Tell us about IQVIA. Are we pronouncing it right? What is it? And yeah, you can now dive deep into drug testings and sickle cell clinical trial.
Yeah, so you're pronouncing it right, so it's IQVIA. And so IQVIA is a clinical research organization. Essentially, we support the conduct of clinical trials globally. And we have a team in different regions, and I'm representing part of the team in our region in Africa. So we work with like big pharma in terms of the big pharmaceutical companies that we know of, and facilitating the conduct of clinical trials at sites like Barbara has mentioned. So, so that's who IQVIA is.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for coming and speaking to us directly. As Crimson Courage, we always say that we are the ones with the solutions, us who are affected by the condition, our parents, our community, we are the ones with the solutions. So just tell me, why is it important to take part in the process of drug development and clinical trials, not just in Africa, but in Kenya?
So maybe first to step back to kind of explain what we mean when you're saying clinical trial. So clinical trials is when you're conducting research in human participants. So so it starts from a preclinical where you've not introduced any of the agent that you're trying to test into humans. So we have preclinical phases where you do a lot of lab work and using human cells also as well before you actually move into humans. So there are different phases or stages. So the first stage will be what we call phase 1 studies. So in phase 1 studies, you're primarily looking at how does the drug work and what are the tolerable doses in terms of without causing harm. So you'll find that whatever you had in the preclinical phase is really lowered in terms of what you'd call the lowest tolerable dose before it's introduced to a human participant. And then it's graduated upwards up until you get, which is the dose that will be the maximum dose that does not cause any harm. So many of the phase 1 studies are conducted in what we'd call healthy volunteers, but in different therapeutic areas they'd be conducted in participants who actually have the disease. So then you'd move now into phase 2 studies where it's a larger group and you're primarily looking at the efficacy, how effective is this drug working in terms of tackling the disease or the target condition. So it's a smaller group, but still larger than the phase 1. And then you move into phase 3, where now you want to compare this therapeutic agent vis-a-vis what we'd call standard of care, what's already available in terms of treating, to see, comparing, is it better, worse, or is it the same? So those are the different phases. So that's a broad understanding of what's happening in how clinical trials work. So specifically, when we look at it to clinical trials in Africa and sickle cell disease in Africa, you find that many of globally, despite Africa having a great burden of sickle cell disease, with about 300,000 births annually of clinical sickle cell disease warriors, only 12% of the clinical trials are being conducted on the continent. Majority of these trials are being conducted outside of the continent. The reason why it's important, to your question now, would be the reason why it's important for us to participate in clinical trials is because our genome is different. How we metabolize, how we break down the molecules from our bodies is maybe different from those from where these trials are primarily being conducted outside of the continent. So it's very key that everyone participates and be able to have our representation in those clinical trials.
Okay, thank you. Barbara, maybe I can ask you, now given that you're part of KEMRI, right? And you're the one who is taking care of us Kenyans, would you advise sickle cell warriors to take part in clinical trials? Is it safe?
Yes, I would advise sickle cell warriors to take part in clinical trials on all the other patients who are involved in other clinical trials for different conditions. Reason is, before even the actual study starts, is that we normally have a scientific and ethics review unit. So this protocol, once it's brought to us, it has to be reviewed. This ethical review unit has scientists, it will have lay people, it will have members from the community, it is actually holistic, so that we ensure that all aspects of ethics and science have actually been looked at. Because our interest is to ensure that the safety and rights of the participants are paramount and they are protected. So before we actually go to the community to start now enrolling patients, it has gone through rigorous review methods before it is passed. So yes, it is safe. If you see a trial that has been reviewed by KEMRI and has been passed for implementation and enrollment in the community, it is something that has been extensively reviewed and it is safe. Yes, and then normally what also happens is that the patients are informed of whether there'll be adverse effects. You're given all the information so that by the time you're consented to take part of that study, you're informed of anything positive or negative that might happen so that you make an informed decision. And we encourage that if there's any new information, the patients have to be informed about that before you go on to a different step. So ethics is very paramount as far as clinical trials is concerned. And we have different committees that actually look at that and review the protocols before they're actually implemented.
Okay, thank you. You've heard it, guys, from the horse's mouth. Yes, don't fear. This is for us.
Yes, and another thing I would like to add, you see, when you get your medication and you have those package inserts, normally the information you get from package inserts is what was collected during clinical trials. So all this medication you have had to go through some form of clinical trial. So if we don't take part in it, it means that there'll be no advancement. We'll be stuck in the past and practicing which.
As a community, be able to solve it and even help ourselves.
So in regards to the actual clinical trials that are being conducted in the region, and the themes have been coming through in the discussions that we've had earlier. There's work around the genetic aspects of sickle cell. There's work around pain management. There's work around the drug development from a curative point of view. So the challenges that we'd face would be around the infrastructure. The system needs to be primed in a way to be able to support the conduct of such studies. We've had examples of some of our warriors having to go abroad to India to get stem cell transplantation. We need to encourage policies that will be able to drive such infrastructure to be available in country, where we'll have bone marrow transplant facilities, where we'll be able to extract the stem cells and do the HLA typing and map around that in terms of the infrastructure. That's one. That also allows for those different types of studies to be attractive to be done in the region. Part of the reason why we may not be getting as many studies is because maybe our infrastructure is not set up to push that agenda forward. The other aspect I'd mention is, Barbara has mentioned about we have a good safeguard in regards to our ethics and regulatory reviews. However, we may want to strengthen those aspects so that we have timely reviews where we have limited delays, because when the delays in terms of getting some of these approvals, and it's not any fault of any organization or any individual, but it's just working around the systemic issues to see how fast these reviews can be done and just have a strong regulatory framework. The other aspect will be in regards to once the studies are approved from a site X, breaking those aspects now where organizations like Crimson Courage and advocacy groups will be able to come in is to just encourage participants to avail themselves to actually participate, and come for those clinical trials, to break the stigma of I'm being used as a test dummy. I think I had someone mention that phrase earlier. So participants are not guinea pigs, they're not test dummies. They are individuals that are championing hope. If maybe I just take the opportunity to mention that the participating in a clinical trial may have direct benefit to you, but it may not have direct benefit to you at the moment, but it may have direct benefit for someone in the future, and that might be giving that person hope in the future from what we will be able to understand at the moment, at the present time. So.
Wow. So definitely for us warriors, there's a superpower that we have we get to understand a lot of medical terms, very early, because you want to be part of that conversation in that doctor's hospital. So even when it comes to this kind of topic of clinical trials, there's that aspect of kind of break of miscommunication between what is actually happening in the lab, the data, all of those things that it's not easy for any ordinary person to understand. So how would you say KEMRI has now come in to try and break that miscommunication, translate and communicate in a way that we understand, even in local languages, Swahili, not just English. You have to think of the sickle cell warriors probably, for example, who are in Kilifi along the coast or in Western Kenya. Are we able to reach them with this good information? Or is this just a thing of, if you're in Nairobi, you're lucky?
I was this years old when I realized the sickle cell is selimundu in Kiswahili. I was like, what is selimundu? So I totally understand that normally, I'm sure even when Innocent was talking about the different clinical trial phases, we must have lost a number of people in the audience. Is it true? Yeah, so as KEMRI, we are doing a lot in terms of engagement with our different consumers and innovative ways of even communicating scientific evidence, because we like that the teams here, there are words that I've heard that were very inspiring to me. Research, access to information. People here are telling that, yeah, do you have access to information? Which information do you have access to? They're talking about bias and with us. So another arm we have in KEMRI, we have the Cochrane Kenya. So Cochrane is a global independent network, non-profit organization that is composed of researchers, professionals, healthcare workers, patients, and caregivers. Anybody who's interested in evidence and use of evidence to make healthcare decisions. So for patients, we also have an arm of the Cochrane public and patient involvement. So how do we involve this group? There's a lot of evidence. I was just talking to, remind me your name? Msani. Sick him. Dino. We just had a conversation with Dino. And he was telling me that, okay, we yearn for this information, but where do we get it? There's a plethora of information out there. How do you know that this is the right information, this makes sense, there is conflicting information, do you go with the A or B? So as Cochrane, we try to empower different groups, especially patients, caregivers, the public, on which kind of evidence is there, what are the different hierarchies of evidence in terms of quality. He has talked about clinical trials. So those are randomized controlled clinical trials, which is a study design. But then we want to make sure that this information is in a format that can be easily accessed by anyone, even those people who don't understand medical jargons, and can easily understand. So you find that most of these clinical systematic reviews or evidences that are produced are actually in a format that can be understood by anybody who's non-scientific. Because, you're the audience. We can't be, for the longest time, we have been doing research and we just are sharing amongst ourselves scientists, but you forget that the people who are supposed to implement this work are actually the patients. So we ensure that different publications have plain language summaries so that you can access this and you can use it to make decisions. We have, recently we had a conference and we incorporated play to communicate different messages, because the healthcare workers were like, the policymakers were saying, scientists, you give us different data that have pie charts and forest plots that they don't understand. The community members, you have questions, the warriors, you have questions. Where do you get your questions answered? Sometimes you just want to know, where can I access this information to help me make a certain decision? Let me give a personal experience. Like when I was pregnant with my first, I used to have episodes of fatigue with my firstborn. And anytime I go to the hospital, of course, they'll tell you it's because you're pregnant, it comes with the pregnancy. But something didn't feel right. You know, that sixth sense. Like this fatigue, I know I've never been pregnant before, but it doesn't feel normal. But based on my background, I knew where I could go to look for this information and see what is there. And I found out that when they are doing the antenatal profile, they need to also add thyroid testing, the TSH, which is not on the profiles normally when you go for your ANC packages. There'll be the usual diabetes, then you'll have your full blood count, STDs. But when they did the thyroid profile, they found that my values are actually off the chain. But someone else who didn't have my background would have gone through this pregnancy and maybe even end up with preeclampsia because you didn't know, lack of information. So I told Tracy we will share different links of where you can access this information. We always have different capacity building sessions of how we can work with the patients and consumers. If you have a question, how you can look for information and you're not finding. So how do you work with scientists so that we coin research questions so that research is done around your area of interest? Remember, this research should be done by you and with you, not for you. So that's how we are tackling it now. And please allow me to introduce some of my colleagues.
Yes, please do.
Please, you could just stand up quickly and just...
Even come to the front.
Maggie.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Hello.
My name is Omboi Jonge. I work for KEMRI. I'm the coordinator for Cochrane Kenya. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, Margaret Moy.
Okay, I think it's...
No, Betri, if you can assist with the microphone, please.
Okay, I'm Edna Wanjiku. I work for KEMRI in the IT and also manage the digital space for Cochrane Kenya. I'm happy to be here and I'm learning a lot.
Good evening once more. Margaret Moy here. I'm a public health nurse, stroke research scientist at KEMRI. I'm also happy to be part of this congregation here, and we are learning from each other. For our warriors, keep on going and feel free to participate in research. It is safe and that is the only way to improve on our health. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of us.
Thank you. So like in summary, I was just going to say, as researchers, we are told what we can't communicate, the artist can sing. So we are working together and closely with people in the arts to have innovative ways of communicating different kind of evidences in a way that can be palatable, easy to understand, and that everybody gets it, so that anyone can access that information and that they can use it to make decisions.
Wow, that's amazing. So you must all feel very amazing to be part of, this crowd today, Crimson Courage. We are content creators, we are the artful people, we are the people who translate at least what you do to people to be able to understand, in the common language, in even short, those short movies that you see on TikTok and such. Yeah, so we are so happy for you to be here. It means that we are getting heard and our steps are actually moving towards where we want to be. So right now I would love to open for questions from the audience towards Innocent, one to Innocent and one to Barbara. Maybe I can welcome also Selina from Children's Sickle Cell Foundation. I'm sure she has a question. You have to come closer. You have to be seen. Your people are here and they love you and they are online. They want to see Selina.
Is this okay? Oh, but I'll be behind you, sorry. I have to respect. This is fine? Okay, fine. Good evening, everybody. My name is Selina Olwanda Ugweno. I'm a parent caregiver to a 20-year-old living with sickle cell disease. He's there. And I'm sorry I came in a bit late. We had World Sickle Cell Day yesterday. And so I've just come from Kilifi. And I entered the house and left. Then the rain started. Yeah, so thank you very much about the clinical trials. It's one of the biggest challenges we have in this country because caregivers and warriors are always struggling with what the term clinical trials. And the struggle starts from the place where the documents you give are very difficult to understand. Many a times they bring them to us and ask you, Soma, uniambie kama iko sawa. Now, you know that's not right. Yeah. So anytime somebody brings that to me, I tell them, you do not need to do the trial because I cannot read for you. I cannot make you understand it. If something goes wrong, it's on my head. And so that's the first thing that for me is a big challenge. How can we partner? And I like that Tracy is here to translate. Congratulations. How can this be made so easy? And it should not be 30 pages, please. I'd rather even be bullet form and you have maybe a page or two where it guides you to the next step and the next step so that people get to understand what they're doing. So that's my first question. The second one is Innocent, thank you very much. I've interacted with IQVIA at one point. I don't know if it was you, but yeah. We talk about the entry levels of clinical trials and consuming these products, and we select a cohort of patients and ask them to participate, etc. But one of the things that still is a challenge, especially in this country, is we don't have proper communication. You know, even saying we are waiting is communication. Sometimes you go through a process and it takes years, because I know trials take many years. But then you're made to wait, and the next thing we hear, FDA approved, it's being consumed abroad, and in Africa, we are left to wonder how do we get the drug here. So these are some of the questions I'm posing to you and to the public just to help us understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Selina. So you can take the first one, and then Innocent can take the second one.
I think I can address part of it, and then Innocent needs to add on this because they're the ones who bring us those long consents. I think one thing that maybe we are a bit conflicted, or one thing we cannot cut corners on is, remember we said we have to give all the information about the drug, what it might cost, what it's about. Are there any benefits? We'll talk about the confidentiality. All these aspects have to be given to the patient before they join the study. So unfortunately, sometimes if it's a very complex trial, then there's a lot of information. And we do understand what Selina, you have raised, because we have heard that a number of times, that concern, that some of those consents are very long. It can even take up to 2 hours. You're seated just going through a consent with a potential participant, and you might end up losing them in the course, and then some will just say yes because maybe there is some transport reimbursement or something like that, which should not be the case because they are not supposed to look like you're being coerced to be part of that trial. So I think at some point, we have to provide all that information so that by the time you're joining the trial, you're informed. You're making an informed decision. If anything happened, you'll say you were told this and this is what it's about, and so you can't now come and go and sue, because we've had cases where people are sued because they were not given some of that information. So whatever information is available, we give it to the patient so that by the time you're saying, yes, I want to be part of this trial, or no, I don't want to be part of it, you have all the information for you to make an informed decision. So I think it's like a catch-22 situation. Innocent, why do you bring us those very long consents?
Well, it's 100% true that, especially for complex therapeutic areas like sickle cell, the consent form may look, when you say consent form, it's the document that you need to sign to agree that you're participating in the study. And as she mentioned, we have ethical review committees that the requirement from an ethics standpoint is that the participant makes the decision and is fully informed about the pros and the cons. So the content looks very big. But back to what we can do is establishing some form of capacity development so that the person delivering the message is able to break down, not make it kind of dilute, but just take you through the entire process and explain this is exactly what it means, not to make the participant feel rushed, so that by the time you're actually signing the document, you feel a sense of, I've actually understood this paragraph, this is what it means. So even if it takes, there's no rush, you don't need to sign it today, you can discuss it through the week and just make sure that the participant understands each and every aspect. From the person conducting the consent form, they may want to have it done quickly, but I think it is your right to make sure that you totally understand before you sign the document and agree to participate. So some element of capacity building in terms of who's delivering, but also from the structure of how the protocols are. The sponsors that we work with, the pharmaceutical companies that we work with are creating summarized versions. Some are even pictorial versions that are easier to digest, so that it's diagrammatic, but still the person delivering the informed consent form needs to take you through the entire document to make sure that each and every aspect is understood. So yes, I think there's work that can be done in that regard.
Definitely. Thing to add on that also, when you have those situations where you have those complex, in fact, any trial, you have a lot of patient engagements and even community engagement, so that you're telling them, we have this trial that is coming up, it will be about 1, 2, 3. It might take you a bit of time going through this because there is this information that is being provided. We have to tell you that we are going to take this amount of blood from you, this number of times at this particular time. Maybe you'll need to be staffed because of 1, 2, 3, so that they're already aware, the community is aware what to expect. And so what Selena raised, that someone comes to you, then I think something failed along the way. Yeah, they should have understood the process and what the trial entails before they actually sign. If they have not understood and they're coming to you, that advice you have given is the best. Then you have no business to be part of that trial because they have not understood what it entails. So then that means that there should be more training, capacity building, as Innocent has said, more community engagement so that people understand. Yeah. And then the consent is done in a simple way that can be understood. So no jargon, no scientific jargon. Anybody in the community, in fact, what we say, the consent should be read by an adolescent or a 7-year-old and understood. It should be that simple.
Wow, yeah. So it's a communication issue, and I've gotten that it's communication between, the provider and the organization, as well as, the provider of the solution to the person, the consumer, that is the patient. Well, for me, I feel like probably it's also something that creatives can also get involved in. Maybe, let's say, for example, he said there's a pictorial that kind of makes it easier. It can even be a radio drama that brings out the concept to the audience. It can even be, let's say, an animation. Yeah, and we are the creatives, and we will help with that. And we are glad to be part of the conversation. Thank you so much, Innocent. Thank you, Barbara. You wanted to add on something?
There's the second question I don't want to be left out. So the concern was you participate in a clinical trial and then, radio silence, and then later on you hear this drug was approved somewhere in Europe or North America and you don't know what's happening. So there is that aspect that we find ourselves feeling like we are at the back foot, but there is concerted effort from sites like KEMRI and organizations like IQVIA to make sure that Africa is always at the front and we are getting the information as soon as we can. And when you participate in a clinical trial, part of the consent form normally has a clause that says that any information, any updates that you get from this trial will actually be made available to you. The mode of making it available may vary. Maybe it might be through media, it might be through direct contact, but the recent guidelines in a clinical trial, the global clinical trial guidelines are actually having some greater weight for the investigators, the physicians, to make a concerted effort to make sure that this information actually gets back to the participants. So there is work going on in that regard to make sure that information trickles back down to those who participate in clinical trials more effectively. So yes, well taken and appreciate it.
Quite an engaging conversation. There's a question. I'm seeing many hands. Okay. Yes, please. You can say your name and the question.
Okay. Do I have to stand for the camera?
It would be helpful.
Okay, cool. Hi. So, hi. My name is Miriam Rose Ndishu. I have a podcast called Beauty Lies Beyond podcast. And I recognize that I'm speaking to scientists, but it's a spiritual podcast. And my question is, what is a space for spirituality or just complementary and alternative healing methods such as Reiki or pranic healing, which is use of life force energy to treat, because it's been proven scientifically also to be healing cancer and other ailments. So is that something that's being considered? Thank you.
Well, maybe I can take it up. As a warrior, yes, some of these modalities, for example, Reiki, yoga, meditation, help a lot because, life is spiritual. People like to say that. And that means it goes beyond what you can see. So it involves also mental health. So practices such as meditation, yoga, breathing exercises do help with that. And I personally am a practitioner. I take part in that. So it's really helped me a lot, to at least calm me down to that level of whereby I'm able to notice the different kind of triggers maybe that I have. Like, for example, in sickle cell, one of the triggers is stress. Stress can actually trigger a sickle cell crisis. So that means we have to find different ways to, deal with that stress, manage and all of that. So yes, that modality actually does come in, and I would love to have even a podcast with you to discuss that. Then let me now hand over to the medical team.
I've not been involved in a trial for Reiki or alternative medicine, but I know where I can send you to get resources, like the Cochrane Library. They have different studies that have been done, I'm sure. So maybe I'll share the link with Tracy to share with you so that we can see whether there are resources that are talk about different studies that have been done on sickle cell and alternative medicine. Because it's a good resource. Normally you get clinical answers from the Cochrane Library. Yes. Oh, whether we have, okay. Currently, I've not been involved in a trial for alternative medicine, so I can't really speak to that.
Well, unfortunately, neither can I speak to it because of... so...
Maybe
so
we
if
can...
the question was from a clinical research point of view, one of the challenges I'd foresee is what Barbara had alluded to. Before a trial is done, we have to look at what regulatory mechanisms are there, what ethical aspects of considerations have been taken into place. So how to document that and how to package it, I guess it's a broader discussion that may need to be taken up with our ethics committees and try and see what guidelines can be formed around that. But at the moment, I wouldn't know of those being set up, but definitely it's a discussion that can be had with the ethics committees and regulators to guide on what roadmap can be used for alternative medicine.
Maybe just to add on it, I did see a study where someone was using, though it was exercise to help with, it was using this exercise band in sickle cell patients to see whether it can help manage pain crisis or breathing. So it's a study someone had actually done, a physiotherapist. So I'm sure it's something like he has said. Once the protocol is written and you ensure that all the necessary components have been included, it has been reviewed and passed the different review committees, then it's something that I'm sure can be done. So probably it is to partner with, because like in KEMRI we have different departments. There are those who deal with the traditional medicine, there are those with sports science, there are different other arms. So it's maybe just to open the conversation and see, can we include this and do like an intervention study and see whether and how it benefits.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
We understand that the conversation is getting more and more interesting and we are getting more and more involved, but unfortunately we have very little time remaining. And before they end the panel, I just want to say that Crimson Courage is not going anywhere. We are recording podcasts every Wednesday, and you are welcome to be a guest or to send your questions to the guests and to keep in touch with the community, okay? So we still have a few more things to do. We need to remember those who we have lost as a community. We also have some goodies for you. So I know the information is really good, but we have a little bit more goodies for you guys. So if you guys could extend us a little grace and maybe write down your questions or reach out. But she had a comment that was seems really helpful, so let her just go ahead.
I hope this will help because what I've seen Kawe doing, because I'm under the Kenya Association of People with Epilepsy, especially when it comes to clinical trials or big things the government is going to do about registering. Number one, they give Kenyans like 6 months. And they always send texts. On this day, on this day, on this day, we're going to have. Oh, okay. And then they make sure, they also tell all the different clinics around the country. And then now from there, when it comes to, yes, the documentation, as you're saying, what exactly are those Kenyans coming to do, at this office? They just make sure they get like a doctor in place. So they tell you, come to this office at this day, kiwanja. And then now they explain everything to those who had registered at the different offices around the country. And then now from there, they say, okay, now I want you to do this and this and this. And then people accept. So it's done in one space. But one thing I've come to see also, and they've explained to us, is they work very hard, Kawe, the Kenya Association of People with Epilepsy, on keeping up to date on what the government is doing and what, they really get in the offices and really ensure that they're up to date with what is coming. They'll tell us, they say in 6 months, or we hear this is going, but we'll follow it up for you. And then when the information comes, we'll give it to you. So Kenyans love time. You have to send them text like every month, even if something is coming, a clinical trial, in like 6 months. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Wanjiru. Yes, I would also like to concur with our host, Peli. Yes, we are a podcast, so I promise that I will have both Barbara and Innocent in 2 different, or do you want the same? In 2 different podcasts. So what I can say, just log on to our live stream, leave your questions there, and those questions, I promise, is what I will ask them, and I won't miss any of it. Yeah, so this is our conclusion of our panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kumbe nguvu ilikuwa tu, ama mmesikia tunaenda? Anyway, so what next from here? What next? So just to hear from Lomo, what we have next in store as Crimson Courage and in relation to sickle cell awareness, just for a very, very few minutes.
God is good, and all the time. Sitachukua muda mingi, and I'll do these two things in one go. I'll read the names of the people we are recognizing, and we'll give them certificates. But basically, I'm here as a friend to the warriors, and basically to just tell you that this event does not end here. The way traffic has been sent online and on the emails, I'm now sending traffic on the roads. So when you see me, I basically love taking people like you after sessions like this to outside places. And you are planning a ride. Ulizeni where? Na tuna ride nini? Ulizeni where? Na tuna ride nini? Nyi mna ridingi nini? Boda boda. Sawa sawa. So basically, I use cycling as a tool for awareness and advocacy. Basically, we meet entities like the KEMRIs, IHAB, or different KEWA, and when they have something that they want to do, we curate a campaign whereby we both use the digital, but now we design a route. Like for the sickle cell awareness, we want to ride from Nairobi to Siaya. Semeni, Nairobi to Siaya. Yes, we'll be cycling for awareness to Siaya, a place called Nyambweke, whereby one of our great supporters has already given out a piece of land, and they've built a structure, like it's just open space. But they gave us a call that nyinyi kama watu wa matembezi ya mbalimbali, could you organize an activity that we can pick up our bikes, ride from here, and have stops whereby we talk about sickle cell in English. Tukifika kwa Kiswahili, tunasema selimundu. Tukifika kwa Wajaluo, tunasema aje? Hey, silence. Tunasema aje? Tuo maringa, maremo. Tukifika kwa Waluya, tutajifunza, sindo? Tukifika kwa Wakisii, tukifika kwa Wakikuyu, Vige, Ayuko. It's something, it's loosely translated as the cancer of the blood. Something ya Dakame. I'm not a Kikuyu, but at least tukifika hapo, Larry will get to know. So I'm calling upon you that the emails that you've received, the messages that you've received will not stop. And this time, we are looking forward to share with you the big vision. Probably it will be done online. And we look to kit a facility in Ugenya, whereby we'll be able to have a specific sickle cell diagnostic center that has beds, that has just some special treatments for this group of people. Why Siaya? Siaya has a high prevalent occurrence of sickle cell, and we hope that once we are done with that, we will map the whole of Kenya, and we will go to coast, we will go to places that even people have not reached, and they don't even talk about sickle cell so loudly. I think I'll finish up with that. These are your certificates. Not all of you. Lisa, did you vote?
Did you vote?
Did you fill the form, or you're just here because you know someone's status? And so I have a few names here. I'll just mention the names because we are supposed to close. And these names have not, si eti wamevotiwa eti walijipigia debe. We just sent a form. Biggie ako wapi? Big baby, not Biggie. Okay, I got it. So, the certificates are here, and we will send a certificate to all those people who appeared on the panel as well, so that you can remember this day and look forward to the coming days as well. Good jobs like what Judy has done here, like should go on a wall with a certificate at least, Cindy. Yeah, so basically the people from the Google form that we sent, these are the names. Na kama uko hapa tu unaweza tu simama na watu wakushangilie. Yes, I will mention the names of the people who are in absentia. That is Michelle Omulo. Kama unajua Michelle Omulo, si uklap.
Michelle.
Yeah. Michelle Omulo ni wa organization gani? She's from Kisumu.
She's a filmmaker.
Yeah, she uses audio-visual to spread the message of sickle cell. And then we have our great friend, Sam Bunya. Probably he's watching from where?
Yes, Sam.
I
don't know, the United States or in Europe somewhere.
Yes. And then there is Silas Kiprono. Silas Kiprono.
Biggie.
Yes. Simama tu hapo kando kidogo. Then there is Stacy Achieng.
Stacy.
Kuja hapo. Then Peter Ahago. Peter. Then there's Donald Thige. Donald Thige is
Donald Duck.
The brains behind Crimson Courage and a very strong support to us.
Yay,
Donald Thige has been acknowledged. There's Fiona Obanda. Fiona Obanda, amumjui?
If she's online?
She's online.
Oh, she works with Professor Tenge.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's Sally Mbanda. Sally Mbanda, karibu sana. And then there's just one name, Eliud. Eliud, we acknowledge you. Yes, karibu sana. And then there's last but not least, Selina Ogweno of
Selena.
Children's Sickle Cell Foundation. They have been recognized from the Google Forms, so you'll just come up ambele, and then we'll take one photo, and who will give us the vote of thanks? Kujeni tu hapa, msiogope.
Oh, that's amazing.
Of life, iko tunanapa. Mesimama cause uko na mimi. You never let me go. mipaka yangu umeitanulia mbali. Even sky sio limit kwa ikibali. Hata haters wanashangilia kwa ndani. Umewawinga sina kingine mimi najivunia zaidi yako Baba. Ndio maana niko tuli nimetulia. Wewe unaga baya. Hata wale wanaonionea usuda shabaha yao mbaya. Watapataje mwamba umenifunika bure watataya. Cause I know that you got me where you got me. You got me where you got me, Papa. You got me where you got me. That's why I never fall. You got me where you got me. You got me where you got me, Papa. You got me where you got me. That's why I never
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Okay, the certificate says, in honor of your strength, unwavering courage in the fight against sickle cell disease. Your voice, story, and journey inspire hope, empower others, and light the path of change. And light the path of change in our community. Let me just read it again. In honor of your strength, resilience, and unwavering courage in the fight against sickle cell disease, your voice, story, and journey inspires hope, empower others, and delight the path for change in our community. So even to begin this, the journey, I have a few cups branded. Mnasoma hapa? Inasomeka kweli? Haisomeki. Mtasoma pale. It's just a memorabilia so that you can, it's a beautiful glass. So there are only 8 pieces for today. So first come, first served, uichukue, and all that, and the wristbands as well. So you can send whatever you have still on our kitty, which is still open, so that you're able to start off the campaign. I don't know how much it takes to fully kit a hospital, but I know it's a lot. But I hope that through my riding, I will get at least 10 beds that are inclusive and can support someone who needs it out there. Thank you so very much. Shukran.
That is a dream, right? And we are going to... Nguvi imeenda wapi tena? Way better. So as we wind up, does anyone has anything to say before we do the video? Does anyone have anything to say? Going once? Going twice? It went. So let's watch the video. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much for laughing at my jokes, inspiring me. Yes, I'll work on them. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting Crimson Courage. Don't forget to stay tuned online, watch the podcast, come and be a guest, keep the conversation going. And as we ride to Siaya, you can join us virtually. You can also join us for the in-person ride. All this information will be relayed to you as soon as they are available. But please do support us because unlike you here, there are so many people who still don't have access to this information, so many people who still don't have access to these services, and we want to at least make a little difference in those people's lives, okay? So thank you so much for coming. Let us now remember some of the people who we have lost along the way and pray that we don't have to experience that much loss. Sema nikala pia nimemaliza kazi ya leo.
name is Susan Akinyi. I am Tracy's sister. I am, yes, Susie. But you can also call me Kiki. Yeah. I'm Tracy's sister. I'm here as her assistant today. So I'm happy to see all of you.
So this journey is all about parents. Kujikaza tu, especially when you're firstborn, when everybody's looking up to you. So you always find a way to just come back up and we'll just make everyone proud to you. Wewe ndo wanakuangalia.
My name is Eileen, a mother and a caregiver to a sickle cell warrior, 13-year-old Kaylee. This month, as a Sickle Cell Awareness Month, I would love and wish for people to come and support for awareness on this, so that people can know much more about sickle cell anemia. To curb stigma, I wish for screening. People can get if people can get tested, so that parents can know before kids are born. Because I feel that it is better for you to know your genotype before you get your kid. Apart from that, we pray that people can come through for mothers, for kids to have clinics, free medications. Mothers can be counseled. These kids can get meetups and talk about their challenges and what they love doing. I think this can be a great initiative if we all come together and do this.
Caregiver, a parent, Eileen, the last one who you saw the video. We lost a young man who had a lot of talent and he really wanted to learn how to be behind the camera. That was the second guy. His name was Avin. And we lost my sister, the one who was saying, hey, I've just come to assist Tracy. Yeah, so I really miss her, and it's true. She used to work with me everywhere and assist me everywhere. Now I just work with her in heart. So as Crimson Courage, we work with all these people in our hearts, and despite everything, that's why we are not giving up. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. As Biggie said in his poem earlier, 1 minute you could be happy that you're feeling better after a crisis, and then being hit by the thought that it could all go away in just a moment. And that is the fear that this community lives with every single day. We hope it gets better. We hope we talk more about it. We hope more people get to hear and see this as a disease, as a disability, and empathize with the community. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice evening. See you next time. Guys.
Si utuambie hiyo ride una launch leo. Bigi una ride bike hiyo siku. Ukipiga picha.
Sawa. Yeah.
Yes. So hiyo siku the first people na watakuwa kwa bikes basically ni Crimson Courage team. Tige, Tracy,
forefront hapo.
Yes, ndio tutakuwa tuna ride kutoka Nairobi. We get to day 1 we get to Nakuru.
Nice.
Day 2 Nakuru to Kisumu. Then day 3 tunaingia Ugenya. Then on the 4th day is now pomp and glamour.
The
So it
event.
will be, it will be a multi-stage. Anyone can ride. Anyone who can do like 100 kilometers comfortably, atakuwa welcome. And we'll be streaming live this event as a fundraising tool, so that watu wachangishe. This is a project that will need upwards of almost 10 million to see a whole health facility.
From ground
from ground. Actually, tunaweza sema from ground juu Buda Tracy ashapeana donate land na ashajenga nyumba. So ni sisi kuleta hizo beds, kuhakikisha tu like
equipment
kuna na equipment haiwezi kosa watu wa kuhandle,
watu cooperate,
and just making it an official facility, whether it will be handed over to the county, but Crimson Courage ndio itakuwa inahakikisha test kits ziko hapo. Sisi tuko na diagnostic kit na tuna test kits. So basically itakuwa hivyo, na naweza taka sana kuona
especially my youngings kuja hapo hivyo. I'll be there. Biggest hivyo, big short it. It's been a journey, and so far so good. Tuna get something positive from whatever we're doing, and seeing the views ama like views tuna get from every single video ama every episode, unaweza ona uko demoralized, but I'm so happy that there's at least 2%, 5% yenye wana comment, and they're actually going to those